Chapter 825, Blood of the War God Roar. The 300-meter-long blood dragon produced a roar that shook the sea of blood. Opening its mouth, scorching hot dragon breath shot out, surging directly for the corpses. The blood dragon did not seem to exist to the living corpses, all they had in sight was Jian Chen and the white tiger. They did not avoid the dragon breath at all, only wanting to reach Jian Chen and the white tiger. The enormous dragon breath directly engulfed over 10 of them. It ate away a large portion of the corpses' bodies as Jian Chen watched on in shock. However, their indestructible bodies came into play soon afterwards. They returned to how they were before, continuing their charge at Jian Chen and the white tiger. The white tiger seemed to know the strength of the Saint Ruler corpses as well. It quickly ran over the sea of blood with Jian Chen on its back, pulling far away from the corpses. The blood dragon seemed to feel seriously challenged after seeing how its dragon breath did absolutely nothing to the corpses. It roared angrily and swung its front claws at the living corpses. The blood dragon was extremely powerful. The Saint Ruler corpses were like tofu before the dragon's claws, directly ripped in half. The blood dragon did not stop with just that. It suddenly turned its great head towards the white tiger and Jian Chen, raising its claw once again and swinging it as a blood-red blur at them. The tiger's fur suddenly stood up. Its small eyes became unprecedentedly grim and it produced a low growl. It disappeared from the sea of blood with a leap, which led to the claw sweeping through thin air. Just as the white tiger disappeared, another 20-odd Saint Ruler corpses appeared within the sea of blood. Their arrival immediately drew the blood dragon's attention. Its claws swept out once again, towards the living corpses with a roar. The white tiger departed from the sea of blood with Jian Chen, appearing among the mountains once again. The formation did not seem to ensnare the tiger. Jian Chen stared at the white tiger uneasily. An unbelievable thought appeared in his head as he connected it to what had happened in the formation of starry skies. Perhaps the formations of the fantasy star ocean had no effect on the white tiger at all? Beast-like roars constantly resounded in the surroundings. Several dozen Saint Rulers had already appeared, all charging towards them. A vast presence that completely exceeded that of Saint Ruler corpses appeared far away at this moment. It shot towards them several times faster than the Saint Ruler corpses. Jian Chen immediately became stern. He cried out, "Crap, that's the presence of a Saint King." Another vast presence appeared on the other side as soon as he finished with what he was saying, it too approaching Jian Chen rapidly. 2 Saint Kings have actually come. Jian Chen's face paled slightly. This was not the end. Up ahead appeared another abnormally vast presence. It was actually another Saint King. 3 Saint Kings. Jian Chen exclaimed. His face had become completely drained of blood. He would still be able to dodge and keep it busy if it was just a single Saint King, or even knock it beyond the 10-meter threshold for it to be ripped to pieces by the spatial cracks, but he probably even struggled to escape against 3 Saint Kings. After all, they did fly much faster than he could travel with the illusionary flash. Roar! Not only did the appearance of the 3 Saint King corpses fail to frighten the white tiger even roared at the sky. The wings on the tiger's back suddenly unfurled, and its speed immediately exploded. It turned into a white blur, flying off into the distance with an unbelievable velocity, on par to the Saint King corpses. Jian Chen pressed his body against the white tiger's back. He had reached a vague understanding regarding some matters. Since Xiao Bai was bold enough to attract all those living corpses, it definitely would have a method to deal with them. He placed all his hopes onto the white tiger. The white tiger quickly shot through the mountains and forests, triggering formation after formation. Jian Chen's surroundings constantly alternated between illusions and reality, but the white tiger remained unaffected. Not only did they fail to stop the white tiger's advance, it passed through them with great ease. Behind them, the 3 Saint King corpses remained close, pursuing them and unwilling to let them escape. They all flew just below the 10-meter threshold. Suddenly, the white tiger's speed began to decrease, which immediately allowed the three Saint Kings to pull up closer. The nearby space suddenly began to twist when the three Saint King corpses were only 1,000 meters from them, changing greatly once again in the blink of an eye. It was a bleak wasteland, completely barren of any greenery. It stretched as far as the eye could see. A towering battle intent suddenly appeared far away, so powerful that it was far beyond Jian Chen's reckoning. It was filled with a condescending aura, as if nothing in the world seemed significant to it, where he was the overlord of the world. Bang! 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 Suddenly, booms began to resound from afar. The land trembled rhythmically. Jian Chen paled as he heard the sounds, every boom coincided with his heartbeat. It seemed mysteriously connected, causing his heart to ache painfully every time it sounded out, like someone grinding their foot on his heart. His heart felt like it was going to explode. Jian Chen clenched his chest in some pain. He had already become pale white, while his forehead was already wet with a layer of sweat droplets. He was astounded. Just what is this formation? It's so terrifying. Just the sounds from it is enough to suck away my ability for battle. A golden figure slowly appeared in the distance near the horizon. He walked over slowly, step by step, causing the ground to shake violently every time his foot fell. It seemed to be like stepping on Jian Chen's heart as well, causing his pain to become more intense. The figure seemed to advance slowly, but the few steps he took covered great distances, appearing several hundred meters from Jian Chen. He was a person completely clad in golden armor, only a pair of eyes burning with surging battle intent could be seen. He was extremely burly, 3 meters in height, wide and stocky. He stood there like a hill and on his shoulder carried a giant, 4-meter-long axe. The axe was completely golden in color, as if it was forged out of pure gold, shining with a golden light. Jian Chen became even paler after seeing the figure. For the first time ever, he had lost all courage for battle in front of the golden giant. The man's battle intent seemed to be able to destroy worlds, just his aura had collapsed Jian Chen's last psychological line of defense. Jian Chen had never experienced this feeling where an opponent was just too powerful, not even when he faced up against Saint Kings. Who's this person? Is he a Saint Emperor of the Dragon Clan? Jian Chen's emotions tossed and turned. The white tiger seemed to remain unaffected. It stared at the golden giant with a weird gaze, currently stunned. Another 3 figures appeared in the bleak wasteland at this moment. The Saint King corpses had also entered the formation in pursuit of Jian Chen. They charged towards Jian Chen as soon as they appeared. At the same time, the golden giant moved. He slowly raised the golden axe from his shoulder, and a heavy voice boomed in the surroundings, "Death to those who dare intrude the land of Ergens." The huge, golden axe was raised high up and a devastating battle intent immediately exploded from the person's body. The entire region began to seem so weak, so fragile before the man's axe. Simultaneously, time seemed to completely stop. Only the axe in the man's hand moved. In this instance, the 3 Saint Kings as well as Jian Chen all felt that they had lost control of their bodies. They could only watch on blankly as the dazzling golden axe descended. Swish! The white tiger did not hesitate. It immediately leapt into the distance with the frozen Jian Chen on his back, disappearing from the empty wasteland. The white tiger was unaffected by the frozen time in the region. Jian Chen finally regained control of his body after he left the formation space. His forehead was littered with soybean-sized droplets of sweat, while his heart tossed and turned. He was extremely perturbed. Ergens, Ergens. Is that golden giant the war god of the 100 races, Ergens? The heavy voice boomed through Jian Chen's head again and again. His entire body began to tremble slightly. The war god of the 100 races, Ergens, was an existence that surpassed Saint Emperor. He was a godlike figure. Jian Chen immediately turned around to look back. All he saw was the 3 Saint King corpses standing blankly several hundred meters away. Shortly afterwards, they turned into dust and disintegrated. They showed no signs of reforming even after a lengthy time. A droplet of golden blood floated nearby that glowed slightly, 3 meters above the ground. Perhaps that's the blood of the war god. Was his body from before transformed from the blood? A thought appeared in Jian Chen's mind as he stared at the golden droplet of blood. He could not help but imagine a scene from the ancient times at the same time. In the ancient times, the 100 races and the magical beasts went to war with one another. The war god of the 100 races, Ergens, killed his way into Dragon Island, angering the ancient winged tiger god who then slaughtered him. This droplet of blood was left behind from that age. Chapter 826, Absolute Killing Formation, 10,000 dragons through the drop of golden blood. Jian Chen immediately began to imagine what had happened in the ancient times. However, this was just his imagination. Jian Chen was almost certain that this drop of blood belonged to the ancient war god, Ergens. However, he was unsure if Ergens had left this drop of blood here willingly. Maybe the blood was obtained using a different method by the experts of the Dragon Clan, and then using a special method, they refined it into a formation which possessed some might of the war god. Just a droplet of blood is already so powerful. It can easily kill off Saint King corpses. This war god of the 100 races really does have terrifying strength. No wonder he's someone who surpassed Saint Emperor. Jian Chen thought as he stared at the golden blood on the white tiger's back that was growing further and further away. Suddenly, Jian Chen seemed to think of something. His eyes narrowed abruptly and staring fixedly at the blood, a powerful gleam of light immediately exploded from his eyes. Golden blood. It's golden blood. Ergens's blood is actually golden. Tai Ta's blood is golden too. Jian Chen's heart began to beat heavily. A terrifying notion appeared in his mind. He stared deeply at the golden blood that gradually disappeared into the distance. He exclaimed, "Xiao Bai, remember this place. You never know, we might come back here in the future." As it ran, the white tiger looked back and glanced at where the blood was. It snarled, as if it was replying to Jian Chen. Next, the white tiger ran about in the Fantasy Star Ocean, creating a great commotion and attracting the corpses from all around. It then led all the corpses to be sucked up by formations, using the powerful formations in the Fantasy Star Ocean to trap them. The white tiger would immediately bring Saint King living corpses to a formation capable of slaughtering Saint Kings as soon as they came across one. The white tiger had utterly destroyed any piece of the Fantasy Star Ocean ever since it had appeared. The noises he produced essentially echoed through the general region, attracting them all to it. Jian Chen remained on the white tiger's back along the way, passing through various formations unharmed despite the terrifying experience. There were many more formations in the actual Fantasy Star Ocean than the outskirts, and they were much stronger too. There were hundreds of killing, illusionary, and trapping formations for saint rulers. The white tiger fully utilized these formations to trap many saint rulers. There were also many powerful killing formations for saint kings. The formation created from a drop of Ergens's blood was only one of them. The white tiger finished off over 10 Saint King corpses through them. 3 of the Saint King corpses had been obliterated by the formation made from Ergen's blood and failed to rebuild their bodies even after a great time. A few others were trapped in a different formation, unable to break free, while the other Saint King corpses all fell into various killing formations. Their bodies were constantly destroyed by the formations until all their energy was consumed and they were unable to reform their bodies. The white tiger produced sky-shaking roars to attract the nearby saint ruler corpses time after time. On the other hand, Jian Chen laid on its back without doing anything. Over 300 saint ruler corpses tailed them closely in the meantime. Jian Chen had now understood. The white tiger wanted to play, it treated this process entirely as a fun game. The various formations were unable to trap the white tiger, while the living corpses were not as fast as it. Even Saint King living corpses could not be able to catch up after the white tiger unfurled its wings. It could be said that in the Fantasy Star Ocean, as long as there were not any Saint Emperor corpses, nothing could threaten the white tiger. Jian Chen's eyes suddenly narrowed. Several kilometers ahead, space was distorted. He was unable to see what was happening inside clearly. Jian Chen had come across this many times, it was just a sign of an activated formation. However, an indistinct purple figure attracted Jian Chen's attention in the blurry distorted space. It's the Heavenly Enchantress. She's fallen into a formation, Jian Chen murmured. He recognized who the purple figure was and his heart tightened. He pointed forwards and called out, "Xiao Bai, head over there quickly." The white tiger basically took Jian Chen's word for it. It did not hesitate at all, immediately changing directions and charging at the formation while hundreds of Saint Ruler corpses followed them. It was a gray, hazy space in the formation. The Heavenly Enchantress levitated 1 meter in the air with her legs crossed, while the unadorned zither of the demonic cry laid on her hands. 10 elegant white fingers formed blurry afterimages, quickly playing the first 20 strings of the zither. She produced notes after notes hurriedly, while the 21st zither string would also be struck from time to time. It would result in violent rumbles in the surroundings. The Heavenly Enchantress became extremely grim and her forehead was already covered in a layer of sweat. She had continued into the depths after she had been separated from Jian Chen the night before. She had accidentally fallen into a powerful formation, one of the top-level formations of the Dragon Clan. It was well known since the ancient times. It was the absolute killing formation, 10,000 dragons. It was said that in the ancient times, 3 saint emperors of the 100 races died to this exact formation, achieving wide renown. It was known as one of the most powerful killing formations in the world. Deafening dragon roars constantly boomed through the illusionary hazy space. The entire space was filled with huge dragons. They all used their dragon breaths, swung their claws, used various secret techniques or just charged directly at the center. There sat the Heavenly Enchantress in the air. She used her zither to block the attacks from all directions strenuously. Countless sound waves shot from the zither, surging in all directions. The formation was extremely well known during the ancient times. It was recorded clearly in Mercenary City, detailing exactly how terrifying it was. As a result, the Heavenly Enchantress understood this formation very well. The absolute killing formation, 10,000 dragons, was just as the name suggested, it was a lethal formation formed from a total of 10,000 dragons. The formation had 5 forms. In the first form, all 10,000 dragons were as powerful as Class 5 magical beasts. In the second form, they all increased to Class 6 in strength. With the third form, the 10,000 dragons were all Class 7 magical beasts. All 10,000 dragons would be raised to Class 8 with the fourth form. Against 10,000 Class 8 magical beasts, even peak Saint Kings would be utterly doomed once they entered the formation. The dragons would reach Class 9 in the fifth form. Each dragon would be as strong as a Supreme Saint Emperor. The 10,000 dragons would be equivalent to 10,000 Saint Emperors. However, throughout the Dragon Clan's history, the fifth form had always remained a legend. They were only able to use the fourth form at most. However, the 3 Saint Emperors of the 100 races had all died to the fourth form during the war. I hope this 10,000 dragons formation is incomplete with the third form being its limit. The Heavenly Enchantress prayed in her heart. She was still able to forcefully break through the third form if she burned her vitality greatly, but once it reached the fourth form, it would be certain death for her. She had already been trapped in the formation for several hours. In this time, she broke through the first and second form of the formation by herself. She currently faced the third form. All 10,000 dragons possessed the strength of Class 7 magical beasts. It was equivalent to 10,000 Saint Rulers. Roar! Suddenly, all 10,000 dragons roared at the sky simultaneously. Soft whisperings drowned the space and a vast energy radiated from the 10,000 dragons, filling the entire region. They've started to use their innate ability. The Heavenly Enchantress murmured. She was extremely grim. The innate abilities from 10,000 Class 7 dragons was enough to kill any Saint Ruler. It was even enough to make ordinary Saint Kings worry. The heavenly enchantress gritted her teeth and a sliver of determination appeared in her eyes. A slender finger gently touched the 23rd string. Her finger was cut as soon as she came into contact with it. Bright red blood immediately began to flow, before being absorbed by the string. The 23rd string became completely red after absorbing her blood. It radiated an extremely profound aura which seemed to contain the laws of the world. At the same time, a gentle, graceful zither note seemed to hum softly from beyond the sky, echoing through the entire formation space. The heavenly enchantress paled from the loss of blood through her finger. This blood was not ordinary blood, it was essence blood, containing the 3 vital energies of a human. It was extremely precious. Currently, the heavenly enchantress used her vitality as a price to use an ability completely beyond her strength. Roar! All 10,000 dragons produced an earth-shaking roar. It was filled with the endless might of dragons and seemed to be able to shatter the void. It created countless sound waves, layering upon one another in the formation space as it quickly radiated towards the heavenly enchantress with an aura of absolute destruction. The heavenly enchantress gently struck the 23rd string at the same time. Ding! It rose like the first sound in the world. It was only a musical note, yet it contained a great power. A powerful sound wave that was visible with the naked eye began to expand in all directions at an unbelievable speed. The sound completely suppressed the roar of the 10,000 dragons. Wherever it passed through, space would ripple, blazing through anything that blocked its way. It surged towards the 10,000 dragons like a hot knife through butter, gently colliding with the 10,000 dragons. Soundlessly, all 10,000 Class 7 dragons in the formation space disintegrated. The 3rd form had been broken. The heavenly enchantress had played the 23rd string at the cost of her vitality. All 10,000 dragons fell to a single wave of sound. The 23rd string trembled violently. The heavenly enchantress had already become sheet white as all blood drained from her face. Her eyes also dulled for a period of time, revealing the weakness she struggled to conceal. Roar! Suddenly, another dragon roar rose up. Soon afterward, vast presences appeared in the formation space. The 10,000 dragons had reformed their bodies and they each radiated with an aura countless times more powerful than before. Despair immediately appeared in the heavenly enchantress' eyes when she saw this. She said with endless bitterness, "The 4th form. It's the 4th form. I never thought this would be a complete one. Looks like I'm fated to die here today." Breaking through the 3rd form of the 10,000 dragons formation was already her absolute limit. She possessed no more strength for any resistance against the 4th form, a form that could even slaughter Saint Emperors. Chapter 827, A Hazy Relationship. The absolute killing formation had completed its 4th form. All 10,000 dragons revived, now Class 8 magical beasts. Each dragon was over 30 meters long and radiated with a great aura. Even the surrounding atmosphere seemed to thicken. Everything looked extremely realistic even though it was all just created from a formation. The vast aura from the 10,000 dragons pressed against the heavenly enchantress to the point where she struggled to breathe, as if she was dying from asphyxiation. Another dragon roar resounded and several dozen dragons charged at the heavenly enchantress simultaneously. Their great auras were like a huge mountain, brutally pressing against the heavenly enchantress' soft body. The heavenly enchantress was pale, she had already given up on all resistance. When she broke through the 3rd form of the formation, she had already lost a great amount of vitality. She was so weak that she would not even have the power to face the 3rd form again right now, much less the 4th. Several dozen huge Class 8 dragons aggressively charged at the heavenly enchantress, wanting to break her into pieces. The distance between them decreased rapidly. The heavenly enchantress slowly closed her eyes. Her heart was filled with an unwillingness to give in, but she had no power to resist the 4th form. A white light suddenly flashed in the hazy space just as the several dozen dragons were 100 meters from her. A 3-meter-long, winged white tiger suddenly appeared in the formation space. On its back rode a handsome young man who seemed to be in his 20s. Jian Chen directly charged into the space of the formation on the white tiger. As soon as he entered, the scene before him changed drastically. He saw the might of the absolute killing formation clearly. He appeared right beside the heavenly enchantress, so everything he saw was exactly what the heavenly enchantress was experiencing. A few dragons had already flown over, swinging their huge dragon claws filled with energy capable of shattering the void at him. The claws were already less than 10 meters from their heads. Time was tight. Jian Chen did not have the time to say anything. He directly grabbed the heavenly enchantress and placed her onto the tiger's back. He bellowed hurriedly, "Xiao Bai, let's go." The white tiger growled and all of its hairs suddenly stood up. It clearly had also felt the great danger rapidly drawing closer. It did not hesitate at all, unfurling the wings on its back suddenly and turning into a streak of white light, leaping forward with lightning speed. They disappeared instantly, leaving the space of the absolute killing formation. Jian Chen carried the heavenly enchantress in his arms on the tiger's back. He relaxed slightly as soon as he saw the surroundings return to normal. He knew they had already escaped from the powerful formation. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath, slowly calming himself. But just as he sucked in that breath, he smelt a vague fragrance. His heart, which had calmed down with great difficulty, immediately shuddered. His attention, which had been focused on the experience in the formation from before, was directed toward the heavenly enchantress. Currently, the heavenly enchantress had collapsed on Jian Chen's body powerlessly. Her slightly warm body pressed closely to Jian Chen's somewhat narrow chest, her face pale and her eyes dull. She was extremely weak. Breaking the third form of the formation before had cost her dearly, to the point where she did not even have the power to move. The zither of the demonic cry she always carried had disappeared too, returning inside her body. Feeling the heavenly enchantress's soft body in the fragrance, Jian Chen's mind began to toss and turn once again. The heavenly enchantress had always been a dignified, saintly and inviolable woman to Jian Chen. Never had he thought they would be so physically close. After spending a while stunned, he immediately asked, "Senior, are you fine?" The heavenly enchantress turned her head slightly to look at the Jian Chen. A red flush immediately appeared on her concealed face when she realized that she had collapsed in Jian Chen's boso. However, she recovered very quickly, immediately sitting up with some difficulty and moving away from Jian Chen's chest. She said, "I never thought you'd still be alive." The heavenly enchantress's voice carried a sliver of surprise, but it was extremely indifferent. Jian Chen quickly calmed himself down and smiled. Fortunately, Junior found a way to deal with the living corpses. Otherwise, it would perhaps be impossible for me to see Senior again. The heavenly enchantress rocked side to side in the wild wind as the white tiger ran. She did not ask how Jian Chen had dealt with the saint ruler corpses but instead stared at the white tiger beneath her in astonishment. She said, "What's up with this magical beast? It seems that it saved me from the formation before. It's actually able to escape, even after falling into an absolute killing formation. Unbelievable. Xiao Bai's not your everyday magical beast. He can move around as he wishes in the Fantasy Star Ocean. Those formations are unable to trap Xiao Bai." Jian Chen explained. A sliver of surprise immediately appeared in the heavenly enchantress' eyes. She asked, "How's that possible?" The Fantasy Star Ocean is the land where the dragon clan lived. There's the presence of dragon aura, so even beasts of antiquity would feel suppressed here. How's he unaffected? And why aren't the formations able to trap him? Perhaps because Xiao Bai is different, Jian Chen said ambiguously. He did not provide her with a more detailed explanation. A beast-like roar suddenly appeared from behind just as the heavenly enchantress wanted to continue her questions. The heavenly enchantress subconsciously looked back. Her eyes narrowed abruptly when she saw the scene behind. There were at least 100 saint ruler corpses currently chasing them, unwilling to let them go. The heavenly enchantress became grim once again. She said softly, My vitality is greatly expanded. I don't have the power to continue to battle. You're the only one who can deal with them. Don't worry, Xiao Bai will handle it. Jian Chen guaranteed seriously. Afterward, he patted the white tiger's back and said, Xiao Bai, stop playing around. Hurry up and deal with the trouble behind us. You've basically attracted all the living corpses in the general region. The white tiger immediately growled, as if it was responding to Jian Chen. Afterward, the white tiger passed through powerful formation after powerful formation with the Saint Ruler corpses. It finally finished off all the Saint Ruler corpses, pursuing them after doing this over and over again for 2 whole hours. Along the way, the heavenly enchantress also finally witnessed the terrifying part of Xiao Bai. It really was as Jian Chen had said, no formations in the Fantasy Star Ocean able to trap it. It could pass through them as it wished. Jian Chen did not hurry into the depths of the Fantasy Star Ocean after they dealt with all the corpses, and instead collected as many heavenly resources as he could. It must be mentioned that there really were many heavenly resources in the Fantasy Star Ocean. 10,000-year heavenly resources were basically everywhere. There were even 100,000-year heavenly resources. With the white tiger's sense of smell, no heavenly resource, no matter how well hidden, could avoid the fate of being picked by Jian Chen. The two of them worked like this for an entire day, virtually picking all the heavenly resources present in the general region. The day's harvest was extremely rich. Not only did he pick hundreds of different 10,000-year heavenly resources, he even obtained a dozen or so 100,000-year heavenly resources. If all these heavenly resources were consumed by the white tiger, its strength would leap up by a great portion. Only after busying themselves for an entire day did the human-beast duo stop. The heavenly enchantress essentially spent the entire time cross-legged on the white tiger's back, recuperating. She was the person most at leisure. At dusk, Jian Chen found another cave to settle down in. Now that almost all the living corpses in the region were trapped by formations, Jian Chen did not need to worry about the same incident as last night occurring again, especially with the white tiger's help. As a result, he settled down boldly and without any worry. The pitch-black cave only had a single luminous pearl as a light source. The weakened heavenly enchantress sat in a slightly dark corner, currently recovering silently with her eyes closed. I have some radiant spirit pills here. It should have an effect on your injuries. The heavenly enchantress heard a warm voice. Jian Chen currently squatted beside her with a jade bottle in his hand. He could not help but think of the scene where he carried the heavenly enchantress as they fled from the formation earlier in the day right now. Complicated emotions arose in the depths of his eyes. The heavenly enchantress slowly opened her eyes. She looked at the jade bottle in Jian Chen's hand calmly and gently shook her head. I'm not injured. I've just expended too much of my vitality. I need heavenly resources to recuperate. Jian Chen pulled out 5 10,000-year heavenly resources from his space ring without the slightest hesitation and passed them to the heavenly enchantress. He said, I don't know if this is enough. If it's not enough, I still have 100,000-year heavenly resources. A surprised light flashed in the heavenly enchantress' eyes. She looked at Jian Chen with mixed emotions, before extending her soft, white hand to receive Jian Chen's heavenly resources. She replied softly, thank you. Seeing Jian Chen give away its fine food, the white tiger produced an uneven sound as it laid on the ground. Its small, bright eyes were filled with the emotion of being wronged. Jian Chen turned to the white tiger and comforted, Xiao Bai, there's plenty of heavenly resources outside. As soon as the sun rises tomorrow, we'll continue our search for them. Hearing that, the white tiger forgave Jian Chen for giving away its heavenly resources. Jian Chen did not choose to advance into the depths of the Fantasy Star Ocean for the next few days as the heavenly enchantress was still recovering. Instead, he carved out a new cave as a temporary dwelling and stayed there, waiting for the heavenly enchantress to recuperate. The wait lasted for half a month. During that time, the heavenly enchantress completely recovered any lost vitality with the help of the 10,000-year heavenly resources, returning her strength to its peak. Afterward, she left the cave with Jian Chen. Outside the cave, the white tiger had become 3 meters long once again. Jian Chen sat down on the white tiger's back without holding back at all, before turning to look at the veiled heavenly enchantress. He said, "Senior, you should get on. We travel much faster on Xiao Bai's back and we can avoid any of those formations during this time." The heavenly enchantress stood outside the cave and after a while of deliberation, she accepted Jian Chen's suggestion. She sat down on the white tiger's back without a single word, but she always maintained a certain distance from Jian Chen. Chapter 828, Dragon Souls. The heavenly enchantress sat cross-legged on the white tiger while she held her zither. Her back was toward Jian Chen, maintaining a distance of around half a meter from him. She said nothing. Jian Chen could clearly smell a faint fragrance from her body despite the distance. Jian Chen could even feel a slight warmth from the fragrance, as if it was the heavenly enchantress' body heat. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath and dismissed the random thoughts. He slowly calmed down, before patting the white tiger's back. "Xiao Bai, let's go." The white tiger produced a growl filled with discontent and aggrieve. It seemed to be extremely unwilling for the heavenly enchantress to sit on it, but the white tiger did not do anything excessive. In the end, it began to leave the area since it had no alternative. Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress sat on the tiger's back in silence. The atmosphere was rather awkward, with only the whistling of wind to be heard. The white tiger ran through forests and mountains quickly, never going above an altitude of 10 meters in the air. It passed through many formations and directly made way for the depths. Whenever they encountered the pursuit of living corpses, they would immediately lead them into formations to trap them. Half a day later, the white tiger finally passed through the general region with the two of them, to the depths. Jian Chen and the white tiger did not just do nothing along the way, they collected all the heavenly resources they came across in the journey, increasing the heavenly resources they possessed by quite a lot once again. Roar! Suddenly, an earth-shaking dragon roar resounded from the depths of the fantasy star ocean. The sound carried an extremely great dragon aura that viewed the world with contempt, as if all beasts needed to submit themselves to it. A red figure appeared in their sights soon afterward. It was above the 10-meter threshold, in the forbidden region of the sky. However, nothing was triggered, as if the 10-meter threshold had no effect on the red figure. The white tiger came to a screeching stop. Its bright eyes instantly narrowed, staring closely at the red figure that shot over from the distance. It growled deeply. The eyes of both Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress narrowed abruptly, concentrating on the red figure. As it approached, it gradually became clear to the two of them, it was actually a 300-meter-long red dragon, just like the dragons in the absolute killing formation. The heavenly enchantress's expression changed greatly. She stared at the dragon, which quickly approached them in disbelief and immediately struggled to remain calm. She exclaimed involuntarily, "That's a dragon's soul. How is that possible? Why would a dragon's soul appear in the fantasy star ocean?" "Dragon soul?" Jian Chen murmured softly when he heard this. He immediately asked, "Senior, are dragon souls very powerful?" The heavenly enchantress became extremely grim. She said with a deep voice, "Although dragon souls only appear in the form of souls, they're much more powerful compared to living corpses. Not only do they maintain all of what they've learned in their former lives, they also have an extremely great potential for battle, and they even retain their innate abilities. They're known to be invincible among magical beasts of the same class. Even beasts of antiquity are unable to contest with it. It's just that several tens of thousand years ago, all the dragon souls were sealed into the dragon's necropolis. It's impossible for them to come out. Yet, a dragon soul actually appeared here. Has the seal been lifted?" Jian Chen also became rather stern. Dragon souls that maintained what they learned in their past lives, as well as their innate abilities, could not be compared to the mindless living corpses. Even if it was against a Saint King corpse, Jian Chen at least had the ability to dodge or avoid them, or even use the 10-meter threshold to kill them off. However, Jian Chen would struggle very much against the dragon souls that maintained their abilities from their past lives, even if it was just a 6th heavenly layer saint ruler. Quick, find a place to hide. I'm guessing that there's not just one dragon soul. It's very possible that all the dragon souls from the necropolis have been freed, the heavenly enchantress said. She was extremely serious. Jian Chen showed no hesitance, immediately getting the white tiger retreat quickly. However, the dragon soul had already discovered them. It produced an earth-shaking roar as it charged at them threateningly. We need to finish off this dragon soul as soon as possible. Jian Chen bellowed. The dragon-slaying sword had already appeared in his hand. Casting the illusionary flash, he turned into a blur that shot toward the dragon soul. Roar! The dragon soul produced another roar, opening its mouth and spitting dragon flames that surged towards Jian Chen with a terrifying heat. Jian Chen dodged the dragon flames with the illusionary flash immediately. Radiating with an aura of destruction, the sword filled with chaotic force stabbed into the rather illusory belly of the dragon soul. Jian Chen could only stab its lower abdomen due to the 10-meter threshold and the size of the dragon. Chaotic force seemed to be extremely effective against the dragon soul. The dragon soul roared out in pain and its belly dulled immediately. It suddenly opened its great mouth at Jian Chen and a terrifying suction force appeared, as if it wanted to suck Jian Chen past the 10-meter threshold. Jian Chen began to shake immediately, his 2 feet had already begun to leave the ground slowly. However, Jian Chen then jolted. Chaotic force surged out from his body, blocking the suction from the sky, where he then moved slightly. He used the illusionary flash to leave the area and appeared on another side of the dragon. A red flash suddenly appeared. The dragon's thick tail forcefully struck Jian Chen with lightning speed. Slap! Jian Chen's clothes immediately turned into shreds, revealing the golden silk mail inside. The silk mail glowed with a hazy gold light to block the dragon's tail, but Jian Chen was still sent flying into the distance by the powerful force. The dragon's soul maintained all of its abilities from its former life. Not only was it extremely powerful in battle, it also possessed an extremely rich battle experience. The mindless corpses were incomparable to it. The dragon's soul had already caught up to Jian Chen with a red flash. Its claws glowed with a layer of scarlet haze as it quickly swiped toward Jian Chen. Jian Chen and the dragon's soul fought intensely. The dragon's soul was class 7 and of the 5th heavenly layer, but it was no weaker than 6th heavenly layer saint rulers when it used its various secret techniques from the dragon clan. It was even powerful enough to battle with a class 7 saint ruler. Jian Chen struggled greatly to deal with it. Roar! 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 Dragon roars began to fill the sky one after another at this very moment in the distance. The sound carried the great aura of dragons. Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress immediately revealed ugly expressions. From the roars, they could already tell that there were at least a dozen or so dragon souls, and they were all class 7 magical beasts. Crap, the dragon souls that were originally sealed into the necropolis by the 10 protector clans really have escaped. The heavenly enchantress was astounded. She showed no hesitance, immediately placing her zither on her knees. She warned, I'll use the zither to control the souls. You need to disperse them as fast as you can or will probably be doomed. The formations on the island are useless against dragon souls, so don't think about using the method you used with the living corpses. As soon as she began to play the zither, the dragon soul's movements slowed. Its eyes became dull, affected by the zither music. Jian Chen immediately struck out without holding back. He slashed at the dragon's soul with chaotic force in the dragon-slaying sword, finally extinguishing the soul and causing it to disappear. Before it disappeared, the dragon's soul produced a mournful cry, causing the dragons flying over to become even more aggravated. A dozen or so roars that were filled with hatred rang out immediately. They approached them quickly. Jian Chen could even feel a tremendous aura from within these roars. It was a Class 8 dragon soul. Jian Chen used the illusionary flash with no sign of hesitance, turning into a blur and returning to the white tiger's back. He bellowed grimly, "Xiao Bai, let's go." The white tiger immediately unfurled its wings, turning into a white streak of light. It currently fled with its full speed. However, the dragons were extremely fast, especially the Class 8 dragon soul. Its speed had even exceeded the white tiger's. Jian Chen could already see that it was an azure dragon, drawing closer and closer to the white tiger. It's a Class 8 wind dragon. It's impossible for us to outrun it. Quickly find a cave and hide in it, the heavenly enchantress said grimly. We'll be safe if we hide in a cave? Jian Chen asked urgently. Although these dragon souls have the abilities of their past lives, they don't have intelligence. We only need to flee to beyond their range of vision and hide in a cave, before blocking up the cave with a boulder. It'll conceal us completely from the dragon soul's senses. The heavenly enchantress's voice was rather frantic. She knew quite a lot regarding these dragon souls. They were actual Class 7 or 8 magical beasts and could not be so easily handled like the living corpses. Behind them, the Class 8 wind dragon drew closer and closer. Currently, it was less than 5 kilometers away. With this current speed, the dragon's soul would probably catch up before they could even enter the outskirts of the Fantasy Star Ocean. "Xiao Bai, quickly find a cave to hide in." Jian Chen immediately told the white tiger. The white tiger had also sensed danger. It flapped its wings frantically, flying at extreme speeds along the ground. Traveling around a mountain peak, they finally discovered a cave, immediately hiding in it. Jian Chen pulled out the dragon-slaying sword, collapsing the ceiling of the entrance. Countless pieces of rocks fell, tightly sealing the entrance. He used the mountain rocks to cover the entrance of the cave, cutting off their presences. As the entrance was sealed, it also cut off all light, causing the cave to become pitch black. However, both Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress did not dare to make any sounds, concealing their presences and standing there unmovingly. The white tiger had also sensed the great danger, copying the two of them and standing there quietly. It did not make any sound, though all its hairs were already standing on its end. Roar! Several seconds later, a great dragon roar echoed from outside the cave. It caused the rocks that sealed the cave to constantly tremble. Chapter 829, Sorrow of the Golden Divine Dragon. Several seconds later, a great dragon roar resounded from outside the cave, causing the rocks that sealed it to constantly tremble. Inside the cave, the two humans and magical beast held their breaths. They did not even dare to exhale too loudly, terrified that they would alarm the dragon souls outside. They were like cicadas in winter, quiet. There were a dozen or so Class 7 dragon soul, even if they ignored the Class 8 dragon soul that they definitely could not handle. The group was so powerful that only Supreme Saint Kings had the ability to face it. Also, different laws of the world had already formed in the Fantasy Star Ocean. It was different from the mysteries of the world outside, so neither saint rulers nor saint kings could use their abilities once they entered this place. No ordinary saint king would be able to face off against these dragon souls here, much less Jian Chen. The dragon roars shook the ground and even made the firmament tremble. The powerful sound waves caused thick cracks to appear one after another on the countless rocks in the surroundings, and many mountains even collapsed. The roars occurred right outside the cave where they were hiding. The terrifying sound pierced through the obstruction of the rocks and into Jian Chen's ears, causing his mind to ring constantly. He had already become temporarily deaf, unable to hear anything. Moreover, inside the dragon roar, Jian Chen felt a vast dragon aura, as if it was a lord ruling the work, making everything submit to it. The deafening dragon roars finally began to gradually grow further and further away. The Class 8 dragon soul existed as a soul, it had no intelligence, so it did not discover where Jian Chen was hiding. Listening as the dragon roars grew further away, both Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress immediately exhaled in great relief. Thinking about the frightening scene from before, they both felt a lingering fear. Once the Class 8 dragon soul caught up to them, they just could not imagine the predicament they would face. Perhaps, the two of them would never be able to leave the Fantasy Star Ocean, with their corpses stuck here for all of eternity, before turning into things like those living corpses. With the departure of the Class 8 dragon soul, the Class 7 dragon souls also followed closely. They whistled past the cave, following the Class 8 dragon soul. Only when all the dragon souls left did Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress finally dare to stretch their bodies, sighing deeply. The heavenly enchantress arrived at the end of the cave and wedged a fist-sized luminous pearl into the ceiling of the cave. She said, "We've already attracted the attention of those dragon souls. According to how the dragon souls move, they will probably patrol this region for a period of time in the future, so it's best if we don't go out in the following days. Let's stay here and wait for all the dragon souls to leave before venturing outside." "Senior, just what are those dragon souls? Why would they appear? Didn't the ancient dragon clan already disappear? So why would there be dragon souls here now?" Jian Chen asked in doubt. He knew that the heavenly enchantress had an extremely deep understanding of the Fantasy Star Ocean. He hoped to get an answer from her. The heavenly enchantress walked over to a corner and sat down. After a period of silence, she slowly began to respond. "Within the ancient dragon clan, there's a necropolis. This necropolis is the only grave for the entire race. Throughout history, all members of the dragon clan would be buried there after they died, regardless of their status in the clan. The dragon souls you met just then were born from the necropolis. I once read some records that touched on the necropolis in Mercenary City. Apparently, there weren't dragon souls in the beginning, however, ever since the dragon clan disappeared the island changed, becoming one of the most dangerous regions of the continent, Fantasy Star Ocean. Dragon souls began to appear in the necropolis for some reason. These dragon souls are extremely powerful. Other than the fact that they lack intelligence, they completely maintained all that they have learned in their former lives, perfectly preserving their strength. They exist as a special form, as souls, and are no different to the living corpses. They're unkillable. Even if you disperse the souls, they will completely be revived in the necropolis, returning to their peak strength." "Just how many dragon souls are in the necropolis?" Jian Chen became stern. His heart was filled with doubt. Why did the ancient dragon clan disappear? Just what happened to the island for it to become so odd? The unkillable living corpses, the dragon souls that would revive for mysterious reasons, all of this mystified Jian Chen. He was unable to explain it, and it even seemed to exceed what he knew. Other than the dragon clan, there was also the divine phoenix clan and the winged tiger god. They seemed to have disappeared together. Did they die, or did they go to a completely unknown world? The dragon clan may have disappeared in the ancient times, but they still have a lengthy history on the Tianyuan continent. With the accumulation through the generations, the dragon souls in the necropolis also increased in number. Let alone me, probably even the 10 protector clans and Mercenary City have no idea just how many dragon souls there are. However, several tens of thousand years ago, all the experts of the 10 clans and Mercenary City had come. With several saint emperors leading, they came with large numbers of saint kings and saint rulers, casting an ancient secret technique together to seal all the dragon souls in the necropolis, eliminating all the dragon souls from the Fantasy Star Ocean. However, we've now discovered dragon souls outside, so that means that the seal of the necropolis been broken. Other than this, I can't think of any other explanations. The heavenly enchantress's voice carried a slight worry, and she continued, "I hope that the dragon souls won't end up outside. Otherwise, it'll be a disaster for the entire world." Tens of thousands years ago, our Tianyuan continent still had several saint emperors protecting it, so we had the power to repel these dragon souls. Yet now, the Tian Yuan continent is only getting weaker with each generation. Other than the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, the Protector clans and Mercenary City have no other Saint Emperors to protect the continent. How would we be the opponents of these dragon souls with our weak strength? We aren't even powerful enough to seal the necropolis again. Jian Chen became slightly shocked with that. He asked, perhaps there are Saint Emperors in the necropolis? The Heavenly Enchantress nodded her head solemnly. There are, and it's not few. The Class 9 dragons have accumulated through the generations, not all from the same age. Otherwise, why would the 10 Protector clans and Mercenary City pay so much attention to it? Jian Chen immediately felt heavy-hearted. He could already imagine what the world would become like if all the dragon souls escape from the necropolis. It would definitely bring a calamity. After all, the dragon souls had no intelligence, all they knew was how to kill. It was impossible for them to coexist with the people outside. Jian Chen looked at the white tiger. He knew that perhaps the white tiger was the final shred of hope. As long as it completely matured, even if there were dragon souls that had surpassed Saint Emperor, there was no need to fear with its strength as the winged tiger god. In the ancient times, the winged tiger god was even able to slaughter the war god of the 100 races, Ergens, an existence that had 2 surpassed Saint Emperors. Its strength was at a terrifying level. Roar! At this very moment, another roar resounded from far away. It was the Class 8 wind dragon that had chased the 2 of them. It had already returned and its constant roars echoed in the mountains. Afterward, it began to pace around the area without leaving, even after a long time. Not long afterward, the dozen or so Class 7 dragons also returned. They copied the Class 8 wind dragon, pacing about in a radius of 10 kilometers high up in the air, as if they were searching for Jian Chen and the Heavenly Enchantress who had hid. Just like what I anticipated, they would pace around here mindlessly. Sensing the activity outside, the Heavenly Enchantress murmured softly. Jian Chen became bitter-faced. It's all over. If they never leave, doesn't that mean we'll always be trapped here? I hope they leave quickly. In the depths of the island stood a 300-meter-tall space gate, hanging in the air. It shone with a powerful golden light. Within the space gate, there was another world. This world was another space ripped open by someone with great abilities. It was extremely vast inside, stretching as far as the eye could see. On the ground, huge tombs stood in an orderly fashion beside each other like small mountains. Before each tomb was a gravestone of various heights. The tallest were several hundred meters tall, while the shortest were only a little over 9. Above the tombs, countless dragon souls of different sizes flew about subconsciously. All the dragon souls were extremely quiet and did not make any sounds at all. At this very moment, there were 2 figures before a 300-meter gravestone. One of them was a middle-aged man who seemed to be in his 40s. He wore long, golden robes and his face was weather-worn. Currently, deep grief and sorrow spilled from his eyes as he stood before the gravestone with mixed emotions. The other person was a black-robed old man. He currently sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes, while powerful energy rippled around him. He was clearly cultivating right now. The 2 of them were the Class 8 magical beasts that had escaped from the artifact space, the golden divine dragon Rui Jin and the mutated divine alligator, Heiyu. Why would it be like this? Why would it be like this? Why has the former island of the dragons become like this? What happened to the island before? Deep sorrow and grief appeared on the Rui Jin's face. He constantly looked around, sometimes looking at the countless dragon tombs that filled the space and sometimes looking at the dragon souls that flew around mindless in the sky at other times. It's changed. It's changed. It's all changed. The island is no longer the old island. The records of the island in my inherited memories is completely different from this. Furthermore, this necropolis, why have my dead clansmen turned into something like this? And my clansmen? Just where are you all? Where have you gone? Is it really like how that human Saint King described it? My dragon clan has already disappeared from the Tian Yuan continent along with the divine phoenix clan. Even the ancient winged tiger god has disappeared with them. Just what happened before to my clansmen and the divine phoenix clan? Why have you suddenly disappeared? Have you all died, or have you gone to some other place? And what's happened to the humans and magical beasts on the island? Why have they become like that? They've become soulless living corpses with indestructible bodies. Suddenly, Rui Jin stared into the distance. A red dragon slowly formed above a 30-meter tall gravestone. Rui Jin stared blankly at the red dragon. He murmured, "Why is it like this? Why is it like this?" His soul was already dispersed by someone, so why has it reformed? Why is all this happening? Chapter 830, The Crow King's Rage. Suddenly, He Yu, who sat in cultivation on the side, slowly opened his eyes. He looked towards Rui Jin and said, "Rui Jin, I feel the presence of the winged tiger god. It's already come." Rui Jin stared blankly at the red dragon soul that had just revived. Only after quite a while did he finally look away, shifting his gaze to He Yu. "I know. Other than the winged tiger god, even the human chased after by the saint artifact has come. He Yu, you're currently in the most crucial period. Cultivate without worry. After you break through to the 9th heavenly layer, we can go find the artifact spirit to heal your limb." With a careful glance, one would notice that He Yu's right sleeve was empty. He had completely lost his right arm. He Yu nodded. He looked at Rui Jin in deep gratitude and said, "Rui Jin, thank you." The only reason why he was able to absorb the energy of the world in the necropolis was because of Rui Jin. With him concealing He Yu's presence, the dragon souls were unable to detect He Yu as a foreign existence. Additionally, he used his own abilities to convert the energy in the necropolis before giving it to He Yu to absorb. Rui Jin roared at the sky. Deep sorrow and loneliness appeared on his face. "In my entire life, I've only had 2 friends. Other than that girl from the Divine Phoenix clan, there's just you, He Yu." He Yu glanced at Rui Jin with mixed emotions. He seemed to be able to understand Rui Jin's current emotions, and a sliver of loneliness also appeared on his face. However, he quickly refocused his attention, slowly closing his eyes to continue his cultivation. He was preparing for an attempt to break through to the 9th heavenly layer. Rui Jin did not leave He Yu's side. Currently, no matter what happened, he could not even take a step away. He needed to conceal He Yu's presence, to guarantee his safety. Although the dragon souls had no consciousness and were filled with hostility, they would not attack clansmen. In the rather dark cave, both Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress sat on the ground with their legs crossed. Jian Chen had already sent the white tiger back into the artifact space, allowing it continually increase its strength through the use of heavenly resources. Outside the cave, the roars of the dragon souls pierced the sky. It caused the mountain range to shake, preventing the 2 of them from getting any peace during this entire period. This was all because the dragon souls had increased to over 30 outside, with the weakest at class 7. The number of class 8 dragon souls had also increased to 3 from the initial one. 30-odd dragon souls directly patrolled about in a radius of several dozen kilometers, without any leaving at all since the beginning. In the cave, Jian Chen slowly closed his eyes. He stood up and paced about, while his eyebrows furrowed with a sliver of worry. He then looked at the heavenly enchantress and said, "Senior, it won't work if this continues. Are those dragon souls going to keep moving about outside? Is there any way to make them leave?" The heavenly enchantress slowly opened her eyes and after a slight deliberation, she said, "There is one way." Jian Chen's eyes brightened. He immediately asked, "What is it?" "The method is to have someone outside attract the attention of the dragon souls and then lead them away," the heavenly enchantress said indifferently. With that, a sliver of despair appeared in Jian Chen's eyes. The Fantasy Star Ocean was a danger zone only second to the Death's Nest on the Tianyuan continent. There were extremely few people who dared to enter this place. It was even ordinary for no one to enter even after several decades. It was virtually impossible to get someone to attract the attention of the dragon souls outside. Looks like we can only keep waiting. Jian Qin sighed softly. He sat down once again. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. He and the heavenly enchantress had basically passed that period of time in silence, without saying much at all. Meanwhile, the patrolling dragon souls did not leave, and instead increased in number, reaching over 40 from the initial 30-odd. Those other dragon souls were all drawn over by the initial dragon souls. They moved around mindlessly, without purposefully searching for anything. They did not seem to know about the presence of the two of them at all. 7 days later, Jian Qin could no longer sit around once again. He stood up and thought, why don't I recover some chaotic force instead of wasting time? With that, a golden light immediately shot from the center of Jian Qin's eyebrows. It turned into a palm-sized golden tower. What do you want to do? As soon as Jian Qin did something, it attracted the heavenly enchantress's attention. She stared fixedly at Jian Qin with her beautiful eyes, glancing at the golden tower without the slightest clue. She carried an expression of curiosity. Currently, there were dragon souls moving about outside. They completely relied on the boulders blocking the cave entrance to isolate their presence and prevent the dragon souls from noticing them. As a result, the heavenly enchantress was worried that Jian Qin would create too large of a commotion and alarm the dragon souls outside. Senior, I want to cultivate a little and recover some strength. Jian Qin replied. No, with the residue energy, it will definitely attract the attention of the dragon souls outside, the heavenly enchantress said sternly. Her tone allowed no exceptions. Jian Qin looked at the golden tower and swore solemnly. Don't worry. I'll cultivate in another space, so there won't be any residue energy at all. Naturally, it would be impossible to alarm the dragon souls outside. The heavenly enchantress looked at the golden tower. It was the second time she had seen it and she was extremely curious about its origins. She asked, what is this? Jian Qin hid nothing. Senior may not have seen it, but Senior should have heard of its name before. This tower is the saint artifact of the Radiant Saint Master Union. What? The artifact of the Union. The heavenly enchantress was shocked. She stared at the tower in disbelief and said, impossible. How did the saint artifact end up in your hands? Jian Qin chuckled but did not give any further explanations. He said, Senior, there's an independent space within the artifact. It's extremely safe in there. Why don't you come in with me? That way, even if our hiding location is discovered by the dragon souls, we won't be harmed at all. She calmed down very quickly. After some deliberation, she asked, I've heard of the saint artifact from the Radiant Saint Master Union. Apparently, it's an extremely powerful divine artifact. I never thought it would end up in your hands. I wonder if we can use the artifact to leave this place. Jian Qin shook his head. No, we can't. I just discussed this with the artifact spirit. The artifact is not originally from the Fantasy Star Ocean, so its presence will still be detected by the dragon souls. Once the artifact leaves this place, it will be targeted by the dragon souls outside and attacked. The Class 7 ones may not be able to harm the artifact spirit, but there are Saint Emperor dragon souls in the necropolis. Once we draw those dragon souls over, it'll probably be dangerous even if we hide in the artifact. The heavenly enchantress furrowed her eyebrows slightly. Looks like we can only wait until the dragon souls leave. Alright, I'll enter the artifact space with you. Artifact spirit, take us in. Jian Qin ordered. 2 pillars of light immediately shot from the saint artifact, encasing the two of them before disappearing. In the blink of an eye, the dark cave became empty, with only a faintly glowing, golden artifact hanging in the air. Shortly afterward, the artifact slowly began to dull, becoming extremely ordinary looking. Next, it slowly flew over to a dark corner, hiding itself behind a large rock. The current artifact space was very different from before. Before, when Jian Chen and the Radiant Saint Masters entered it to compete, the huge space only had a few Class 6 magical beasts, with no magical beasts stronger than that. Now, the huge space had various magical beasts everywhere. They ranged from Class 1 to 5, and there were even some Class 6 magical beasts moving about. On a grassy plain, there were 2 Class 5 magical beasts currently locked in a life-or-death battle. The energy ripples from the great fight turned the surroundings into a mess, kicking rocks and sand into the air. Meanwhile, the beasts roared angrily. At this very moment, 2 pillars of white light suddenly appeared in the sky. The tight-clothed Jian Chen and the purple-dressed heavenly enchantress appeared. The heavenly enchantress held her zither in her arms. As soon as they arrived, she impatiently looked around with deep curiosity flooding her eyes. The sudden appearance of the 2 attracted the attention of the 2 fighting magical beasts. They could not help but stop and look at the sky. They looked vigilantly at the 2 people above with their vicious gazes. Just from their bestial instinct, they could feel a great threat from the 2 of them. Caw! At this very moment, an earth-shaking sound appeared in the distance. Immediately afterward, a powerful presence with rocketing killing intent appeared too. Jian Chen narrowed his eyes, looking towards the direction of the sound. He could not help but curl his lips into a cold smile. It's that Class 7 Crow King. I didn't think it would still remember me. Looks like the Class 6 Crow I killed last time is a close kin of it. Saint Ruler abilities could be used at will in the artifact space. The Class 7 Crow King used spatial force, fusing with the surrounding space to shoot over from the distance at Jian Chen. In just a few seconds, a black dot appeared on the endless horizon, quickly increasing in size. It arrived before Jian Chen very quickly. It was a huge, jet-black crow that was several dozen meters in length. It radiated with a vast presence, causing the Class 5 magical beasts below who had stopped their fight to collapse on the ground while trembling. Their eyes were filled with dread. The crow stared fixedly at Jian Chen with its scarlet eyes. Hatred soared in its eyes and it soon producing a horrible cry toward the sky. It turned into a black blur, shooting at Jian Chen while its pair of sharp claws shone with a cold light, directly clawing at Jian Chen's heart. Chapter 831, The Artifact's Monster Cores, You Dare. At this very moment, an angry yell sounded out of nowhere. It instantly froze the surrounding space, as if it had turned into extremely tough ice, trapping the Crow King tightly and cutting off all its mobility. The heavenly enchantress's eyes immediately narrowed when she saw the Class 7 Crow King being trapped. She could already tell that the Crow King was at the 7th heavenly layer. It could be imagined just how powerful the person who struck out in secret was, as he had actually trapped such a powerful magical beast mid-air. It was at least a supreme Saint King. The artifact spirit slowly appeared beside Jian Chen. He did not even glance at the Crow King, directly bowing at Jian Chen. I greet Master. She immediately became astonished when she heard the spirit say Master. She stared at Jian Chen and the artifact spirit in the shape of a middle-aged. She was extremely shocked. Meanwhile, the trapped Crow King had also heard how the artifact spirit had referred to Jian Chen. Its reactions were even greater than the heavenly enchantress. The shock it experienced had reached the absolute limit. It was closely followed by deep dread and disbelief. It was born and raised in the artifact space, so it knew the artifact spirit's identity and strength extremely well. Release that crow, Jian Chen said. Yes, Master. The artifact spirit replied courteously, before immediately returning the frozen space to how it was before. The Crow King also regained control over its body as a result. However, the Crow King no longer dared to attack Jian Chen. It immediately transformed into a short, black-robed old man, kneeling on the ground. It said extremely courteously, "Mou greet Sir Artifact Spirit." The artifact spirit glared at the Crow King and said coldly, "How dare you actually disrespect Master?" The Crow King trembled all over and its eyes were filled with deep fear. It said with a shaking voice, "Please do not be angry, Sir Artifact Spirit, please do not be angry." Before, Mou did not know he was the master of Sir Artifact Spirit. "If I have done any offense, please forgive me." Seeing this, the heavenly enchantress became more and more astonished. A powerful Class 7 magical beast was actually begging the artifact spirit for forgiveness on its knees. This was extremely rare. After all, Class 7 magical beasts were equivalent to saint rulers and were naturally arrogant, let alone the fact that the Crow King had even reached the 7th heavenly layer. Even before saint kings, they would just act more courteously at most. They would never be so shaken. The heavenly enchantress could not help but guess at the artifact spirit's strength once again after she witnessed the events before her. However, what made her even more astonished was that such a powerful artifact spirit actually took a saint ruler as its master. This was an extremely great piece of news. "How are you related to the Class 6 crow that I killed initially?" Jian Chen inquired. With that, the short old man hesitated slightly. Originally, it did not want to answer Jian Chen's question, but as soon as it remembered Jian Chen's relationship with the artifact spirit, it could only reply obediently, "That was one of the 8 disciples I took, as well as the most outstanding disciple of the 8. He had an extremely great chance of breaking through to Class 7. Jian Chen became relieved and said, "You can go. In the future, if you still want to take vengeance on me, I will be here." The short old man hesitated slightly. It did not say anything and instead looked toward the artifact spirit. The artifact spirit said indifferently, "Since Master does not intend to pursue your disrespect from before, I will let you off the hook for now. You can go." The old man bowed deeply at the artifact spirit before turning and leaving. Afterward, Jian Chen, the heavenly enchantress and the artifact spirit arrived at the palace in the center of the space. She did not ask too many questions about this location, quietly leaving after choosing a hall. She planned to go into seclusion for a while. After dismissing the artifact spirit, Jian Chen also chose a quiet hall to go into seclusion. He wanted to recover his chaotic force. In an ice-cold and empty hall, Jian Chen sat cross-legged in the center, currently sorting the monster cores in his space ring. He had already planned to refine all these monster cores into chaotic force. Around him, the cores of various classes were already stacked up like mountains, radiating with great energy ripples. After sorting through all the monster cores, Jian Chen finally stopped. He used his thoughts to communicate with the sword spirits who were absorbing the multicolored stone, to get them to assist him in the refining. Ziying and Qing Sua immediately appeared above Jian Chen's head. With a flick of their hands, a small pile of monster cores immediately flew up between them, before being refined into strands of chaotic force. The mountainous piles around him were constantly decreased, refined into chaotic force by the sword spirits and entering Jian Chen's dantian. The chaotic Niden in Jian Chen's dantian slowly began to grow at a visible rate. After 2 days, all the mountainous monster cores around him were consumed without a single left. Meanwhile, Jian Chen's chaotic Niden had grown from the soybean size to the size of a thumb. The chaotic force he gained was extremely limited, less than 1/100th of the energy he absorbed below Mercenary City. This was because the vast majority of the cores were Class 3, 4, and 5. He had already used up some of the Class 6 monster cores before, so there were extremely few left. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes. His eyebrows furrowed from worry. Currently, he had consumed all the monster cores on him. Other than the ruler armament and the dragon-slaying sword, he had nothing else he could refine into chaotic force. Suddenly, an idea flashed through Jian Chen's head. He murmured quietly, "There seems to be quite a few Class 7 magical beasts in the artifact space. I wonder if the magical beasts who passed from old age had left behind any cores. If they have..." Slowly, Jian Chen's eyes glowed brighter and brighter, before he abruptly stood up from the ground, rushing out of seclusion. Artifact Spirit. Outside the hall, Jian Chen directly summoned the artifact spirit. Master, how may I be of service? The artifact spirit appeared before Jian Chen soundlessly. Artifact Spirit, don't many magical beasts exist in the artifact space? When those magical beasts die, do they leave behind monster cores? Jian Chen asked hurriedly. His heart was filled with a powerful anticipation. There are quite a few monster cores. The cores can only be absorbed by humans, so they're completely useless to magical beasts. However, after the deaths of their ancestors, many clans of magical beasts would consecrate them. If Master needs them, this one can go collect them immediately, the artifact spirit said. Jian Chen was ecstatic. His heart could not help but begin thumping heavily. He said urgently, Artifact Spirit, I need large amounts of cores. Collect it for me immediately. Yes, Master. Afterward, all the clans of magical beasts in the entire artifact space fell into a commotion. The monster cores consecrated in their ancestral halls that were left behind by their ancestors, all flew away. Their halls, which used to be filled with various high-class monster cores, had become empty. This occurred to all the magical beast clans in the artifact space of ranging sizes. All the monster cores kept by those magical beasts flew away under the attention of countless experts, whether high class or low class. There were even several powerful Class 7 magical beasts who went to prevent the cores from leaving, but as soon as they moved, they were immediately met with the suppression of the artifact space. In the end, they could only watch on helplessly as the monster cores left behind by their ancestors disappeared into the distance. It's Sir Artifact Spirit. Sir Artifact Spirit has taken away all the monster cores left behind by the ancestors. The powerful Class 7 magical beasts understood very quickly. Even though there were many beasts who were absolutely infuriated, they did not dare to grumble too much. This was because in this space, the artifact spirit was like a god. He was absolute. Other than this, several monster cores buried deep within the ground broke out. They all flew towards the central palace. The cores had been accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years. The amount had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Other than the tiny portion that was taken by the competitors from the Radiant Saint Master Union, the remaining were all left behind in the space. Inside the hall, Jian Chen stared blankly at the floor before him. He only saw countless monster cores flying in from outside in a steady, unending stream. They all piled on the ground neatly, and in just a few seconds, the monster cores had already formed a small mountain, blocking up the corridors. Master, I am currently collecting all the monster cores in this space. There's no more room here, so I've placed the remaining cores in another hall. If Master needs them, Master can go take them whenever. A while later, Jian Chen heard the artifact spirit's voice. Looking at the surroundings, he saw mountainous piles of monster cores. Jian Chen gulped with some effort. If the cores here were an elephant, the monster cores in his space ring would basically be an ant. It was incomparable. Artifact Spirit, how many high-class monster cores are there here in total? Jian Chen asked with some difficulty. Master, in the past hundreds of thousand years, there has been over 2,000 Class 8 magical beasts and 50,000 Class 7 magical beasts that have appeared in the artifact space in total. Other than the Class 8 magical beasts who left a few days ago, the remaining monster cores have all been preserved. As a result, there are over 2,000 Class 8 monster cores, over 50,000 Class 7 monster cores and an uncountable number below Class 7, the artifact spirit said. Jian Chen was completely stunned. Currently, any thought processes in his mind had stopped. Only what the artifact spirit had said echoed through his head. Over 2,000 Class 8 monster cores, over 50,000 Class 7 monster cores. Over 2,000 Class 8 monster cores, over 50,000 Class 7 monster cores, Jian Chen muttered mindlessly, his voice trembled. Currently, euphoria had drowned Jian Chen's entire spirit. He was drunk in endless joy, unable to return to his senses even after a great period of time. Chapter 832, Secluded Cultivation. Only after an extremely long time did Jian Chen finally return to his senses. He looked around at the surrounding monster cores. He felt like this pleasant surprise had just come too suddenly. Before, he was still worrying over the lack of monster cores, yet currently, the artifact spirit had directly helped him find vast numbers of them. The number of Class 7 and 8 monster cores among them had reached an unimaginable level, even for him. It made Jian Chen feel like he was currently living in a dream and that everything happening before him was not real. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath, slowly calming himself down. He looked around at the neatly stacked monster cores which had plugged all the corridors. Without any hesitation, he began to put them into his space ring. There were monster cores from all classes. After placing several thousand into a space ring, Jian Chen finally calmed down completely. Shortly afterward, he seemed to think of something, immediately stopping what he was doing. He thought, if I shove all the monster cores into one space ring, wouldn't that mean I would lose a lot of monster cores if I happen to lose that ring? Right now, I've already become the master of the artifact spirit. The artifact spirit is hidden in my mind, it's impossible to lose it. It seems like leaving these monster cores in the artifact space is the safest. Thinking this through, Jian Chen stopped shoving monster cores into his space ring. He turned around to face the artifact spirit. Find me a large room for storage and place all these monster cores into it. Also, grab 100 Class 7 monster cores for me. Yes, Master. The artifact spirit replied immediately. With a wave of his hand, the mountainous piles of monster cores in the surroundings all disappeared. Only exactly 100 fist-sized Class 7 monster cores remained floating in the air. Jian Chen looked at the 100 Class 7 monster cores, before frowning slightly. He walked up and grabbed a core, but it had completely gone dull. The thick layer of dust on it had already formed a thin rock shell, tightly encasing the monster core. From a single glance, the fist-sized monster core seemed just like a round rock. Jian Chen squeezed his hand gently, crushing the stone layer into pieces. It revealed the monster core hidden inside. The core remained dull, with only tiny ripples of energy hidden extremely deep within. Seeing this, Jian Chen's eyebrows immediately furrowed tightly. Master, these monster cores have already existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Quite a lot of the energy inside has leaked out over time and the remaining energy had basically solidified. The artifact spirit explained from one side. Jian Chen stared attentively at the Class 7 monster core in his hand. You're right. A lot of the energy in the monster core has leaked out. Only about 60% remains. Monster cores were different from ruler armaments. On the Tianyuan continent, every ruler armament was a powerful weapon valued by people and would be stored carefully. People would treat them like their own children. Additionally, ruler armaments could absorb the energy of the world to repair themselves, so ruler armaments could be preserved for a very long time. However, monster cores could not. They were only helpful to humans and were of no use to magical beasts, as magical beasts were unable to absorb the energy in them like humans. As a result, after powerful magical beasts pass away, the monster cores left behind could only be consecrated as holy relics, as a way to express respect to their ancestors. Once monster cores were stored for a long time, the energy within them would slowly leak out and then solidify. Although some of the energy has leaked out, these monster cores are still extremely helpful to me. Artifact Spirit, I will be going into seclusion immediately. I will naturally call you when I need you. Also, in the period I go into seclusion, pay attention to the activity outside. If anything happens, call me right away. Jian Chen said. Yes, Master. In the quiet hall, Jian Chen sat cross-legged on the cold floor. The sword spirits had already appeared, currently cross-legged above Jian Chen's head, refining the first Class 7 monster core with difficulty. The speed of refinement was extremely slow, even several times more difficult than refining the ruler armaments at the beginning. The remaining energy in the hundreds of thousand-years-old monster cores had already solidified completely. During the refining process, Jian Chen felt like the energy in the monster cores had turned into an extremely tough ice cube. Currently, he had the ice cube in his mouth, sucking any moisture from it with difficulty. It was extremely exhausting. The first monster core was finally refined after an entire day. It turned into a tiny strand of chaotic force, entering Jian Chen's body. The strand of chaotic force was clearly less than what he had obtained from refining the ruler armaments before. Even though it was like that, Jian Chen felt extremely satisfied. The artifact spirit had produced a total of several tens of thousand Class 7 monster cores, and even quite a few Class 8 monster cores. If he could refine all of them, his chaotic body would definitely rise up to another level. At the very least, it was more than enough to reach the second layer. Jian Chen did not stop. Finishing with the first monster core, he immediately pulled out a second Class 7 monster core, continuing his refining. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months passed. Jian Chen spent the entire time in secluded cultivation, refining the monster cores into chaotic force. The 100 cores he had originally brought in were all consumed, which allowed the chaotic Niden in his dantian to expand by quite a lot. If we continue with a speed like this, reaching the second layer of the chaotic body is just around the corner. Seeing how his chaotic Niden had grown much bigger, Jian Chen experienced unconcealable joy. Soon afterward, he left his room of seclusion, directly summoning the artifact spirit outside. The artifact spirit appeared before Jian Chen without any sound. Jian Chen asked immediately, "Has anything happened outside while I was in seclusion?" "Master, the situation outside remains the same as before." "There have been no changes," the artifact spirit said. "Perfect. Then I can keep up the secluded cultivation for some time more." "Artifact spirit, please fetch another 500 Class 7 monster cores for me. Please try to pick those from magical beasts that have passed away recently," Jian Chen said. "Yes, Master." The artifact spirit replied courteously. Afterward, with a thought, 500 Class 7 monster cores appeared out of nowhere before Jian Chen. Every monster core radiated with a powerful energy ripple, and the energy inside was extremely active. It was not solidified. Clearly, their masters did not pass away too long ago. Jian Chen took the 500 Class 7 monster cores, turning around to return to his secluded cultivation. "Master, the seal for the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force will open in another half a year." As Jian Chen turned around, the artifact spirit's voice appeared in Jian Chen's head. With that, Jian Chen froze slightly. His father and mother immediately flashed through his head and he said, "When it happens, you must notify me." As soon as he finished speaking, Jian Chen disappeared into the hall. The heavy door also closed slowly. In the empty room, Jian Chen sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He muttered softly, "There's still over half a year before I can obtain the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force to reach Class 7. I'll be able to revive my parents when that happens. But before that, I need to increase my strength as fast as possible. I can only return to the continent after I possess a strength that can rival the 10 clans. Otherwise, not only will I fail to revive mother and father, even Xiao Bai would be pulled into trouble. It'll be hard to keep my own life intact too." Jian Chen quickly dismissed his emotions. He began to continue his refinement of the monster cores. Now that lack of monster cores was resolved, he needed to power up as fast as possible. In the distant Tian Yuan continent, the waves that brewed for the search of the winged tiger god did not bear any signs of weakening. The matter had already caused a great commotion on the continent. Everyone knew. Not only did the 10 protector clans move out for this, even ancient clans and hermit clans that had spent many years hidden had reappeared, joining the search for the winged tiger god. During that time, the 10 protector clans did not just sit around. They had worked together several times in the past to use secret techniques to scan the entire continent. They attempted to find the winged tiger god and Jian Chen's presence, but the outcome would be disappointing every time with no exception. Although the Pure Heart Pavilion had gained Changyanghu, causing some slight shifts in their relationship with the Lore City Changyang clan, they did not give up on the search. The matter regarding the winged tiger god was extremely important. It touched on the fate and future of the entire continent. As one of the 10 protector clans, the Pure Heart Pavilion definitely would not ignore the safety of the continent over just Changyanghu. However, the protector Changyang clan's relationship with the other 8 clans, excluding the Pure Heart Pavilion, became much colder. The 8 clans all harbored ill intentions. None of them wanted the Changyang clan to obtain the winged tiger god successfully, all of them having the intention of eliminating the clan. The Changyang clan naturally discovered this long ago. However, they did not do anything in response. They did not care at all. Instead, they were even more frantic than the 9 other clans in their search for Jian Chen, because not only was Jian Chen an unprecedented genius on the entire continent, the winged tiger god had followed him, a descendant of the Changyang clan. As long as they found Jian Chen first, it would mean that they directly gained control over the winged tiger god. Meanwhile, Changyang Zhu Yunshao, one of the 7 great elders, always remained in the Changyang clan of Lore City with his wife, Changyang Zhu Yeyun. They silently guarded the clan their son had founded all those years ago in this urgent period, as well as waited for their son's return. The situation of the flame mercenaries was also much better. The group essentially strengthened every day. The news of the tungsten alloy mine they possessed was leaked as the ancient clans had all appeared, but even the ancient clans did not dare to desire the tungsten alloy mine with the shadow of the protector Changyang clan behind them and the Grand Elder of Mercenary City supporting the flame mercenaries. Only the Tianmu clan, after discussions with Yu Yu and Bai Lian, obtained some tungsten alloy in exchange for some equally valuable items. The flame mercenaries never stopped their mining and refining of the tungsten alloy. They already had a large quantity of the refined alloy stored up. Their plan to build city walls had been dismissed and they were now undergoing a plan to build a city. They wanted to build a city just for the flame mercenaries completely out of tungsten alloy. Meanwhile, Ming Dong remained in secluded cultivation in a desolate area. He had never come out since he had entered. Huang Wan had also returned to the Huang family to cultivate after Jian Chen left. Tai Ta, Fatty, Wang Yifeng, Dugu Feng and the others also went into seclusion. They used the monster cores left behind by Jian Chen right before he had left to quickly power up. In the Tianqin clan of Walorant City, Qin Shao originally planned to go searching for Jian Chen. However, as the 10 protector clans publicized Jian Chen's images throughout the entire continent, his movements were immediately suppressed by the great elders of the clan and he was forcefully placed under house arrest. Meanwhile, the young lady, Qin, continued just like before. Every day, if she was not playing the zither, she would be drawing. Her music no longer carried the serenity of before, instead, there was now with a vague longing and gloom. Other than the beautiful scenery in her drawings, there would be extra drawings of a young man. The young man seemed staunch, he was handsome and smart, and the drawing was lifelike, as if he was real. Chapter 833, The Tian Yuan Continent Situation. Master Jian Chen, I never thought your real name would be Changyang Xiangtian. Everyone on the Tian Yuan Continent is looking for you right now. I wonder if you are still doing well, murmured Qin, the young lady of the Tianqin clan. Jian Chen, you must hide well. You can't be discovered by them. You promised to go wandering about the continent with me. I, Qin Shao, believe you are a man of your word. You cannot make me disappointed. Under house arrest, Qin Shao sat by himself in a room, drinking in his depression. He spoke with an extremely faint voice. In a bustling first-class city, several dozen burly men gathered in a luxurious estate, cultivating. They all radiated with a fierce aura that reeked of blood. It was an aura that was only present on people who killed very often. Captain, the whole city's filled with public notices searching for you. It's a pity we're too weak, so we're of no help at all. But we will definitely work hard on our cultivation. When we're strong enough, we'll stand side by side with the captain and slaughter foes for the captain. In one of the room, middle-aged man said this with a deep voice. His eyes flickered with a determined light. At the same time, a similar voice appeared in various places on the luxurious estate. They were the earliest group of members from the Flame Mercenaries. Their loyalty to Jian Chen had been tested through near-death experiences. They had been promoted to core members by Jian Chen long ago, where he poured resources to raise them without holding back at all. Currently, the several dozen people had already become a group with extraordinary strength. Most of them had already become Earth Saint Masters, with only a few that were still Great Saint Masters. In the Holy Empire, the president of the Radiant Saint Master Union stood on the 5th floor of the headquarters castle, staring outside at the scenery. His eyebrows were furrowed in worry. He had spent the entire past 3 months filled with worry. The anxiety in him had already affected his appearance, making him seem much older. The news of losing the Union artifact was contained, only limited to a few people. It did not spread. However, the president knew that paper was unable to contain fire. The fact that the Saint artifact was lost could not be hidden for over a year, even though it was temporarily contained. This was because in a few months, the top 10 competitors would be preparing to enter the artifact to absorb the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force. At that time, the loss of the artifact would be announced as of a result. I wonder just where Jian Chen is. My union cannot go on without the artifact. The president sighed softly, while the worry on his face deepened. At this very moment, the door of the room was opened. The white-robed Grand Elder walked in, his face also filled with worry. President, we definitely can't announce that the artifact is lost. When the competitors plan to enter it in a few months' time, we will need to find an excuse to delay the time to absorb the origin energy if we can't recover the artifact. The president pondered silently for a very long time before nodding. We can only do that. This is perhaps the best action we can take right now. In a Class 2 city within the Holy Empire, a white-robed female sat all by herself in the pavilion of a garden on a huge, luxurious property. She sat there blankly, staring at the fishes that swam back and forth. The woman seemed to be around 20 years of age. She possessed an alluring appearance and radiated with a noble and sacred aura. A middle-aged man in tight clothing hurried over from a distance behind the woman. He knelt on one leg outside the pavilion and said, I greet the first young lady. What's happened with the matter I told you to go investigate about? Has the Union's artifact been recovered? Kara Liwei said without even looking back, her voice extremely cold. Replying to young miss, the Union has not recovered the artifact, the man said. Kara Liwei went silent for a while before replying, I understand now. You are dismissed. This one bids farewell. The middle-aged man backed off courteously. After the man left, Kara Liwei sighed gently. She slowly walked over to a stone bench in the pavilion and sat down. Her eyebrows furrowed with a sliver of worry and she murmured, I just never thought that the artifact of the Union would be taken away by Yang Yutian. Without the artifact, how will I reach Class 7? In the sky of the northern sea, a white-robed, middle-aged man currently rode a cloud completely condensed from Radiant Saint Force. This man was traveling toward the depths of the ocean with an exhausted expression. He was Yun Tian. 3 months ago, Yun Tian left the Union. With a few setbacks along the way, he finally left the continent, arriving at the sea after 3 months of traveling. He was looking for the experts who searched for the winged tiger god. Yang Yutian, I don't care if you're a Radiant Saint Master or a fighter. I, Yun Tian, won't let you have it easy no matter what. I wonder what the experts from the Beast God continent would do after they learn that the winged tiger god is with you. I reckon they'd seize your family to threaten you. Ha ha ha, Yang Yutian, I don't care if you're a saint ruler or a member of the 10 protector clans, before the experts of the Beast God continent, you're nothing. If they want to crush you, it's no more difficult than crushing an ant. Yun Tian laughed viciously. Currently, his eyes were bloodshot while his face was haggard. He was already losing part of sanity, and soon after, the light in his eyes disappeared. He directly fell from the sky, toward the vast ocean. Yun Tian had already hurried over the ocean without resting for several days. As a radiant Saint Master, his body was fragile and there were no islands in the ocean which he could rest on. As a result, after several days of traveling without rest, combined with the exhaustion of 3 months of travel earlier, he could not last any longer. He directly fell unconscious, falling toward the ocean. Meanwhile, he continued to murmur words about the beast god continent, the winged tiger god, and Jian Chen from time to time. There's actually a human here and he seems to be a radiant Saint Master. Interesting, what? The beast god continent. The winged tiger god. Semi-conscious, Yun Tian seemed to hear an astounded voice. Shortly afterward, he seemed to feel his body being picked out of the ocean by a great hand. After an unknown period of time, Yun Tian discovered that he was lying in a luxurious palace as he slowly woke up. Human, you've finally awoken. Suddenly, a heavy voice boomed. Yun Tian stood up from the ground with some difficulty, looking around. He discovered that several people of varying ages stood on both sides, while at the very end of the hall boldly sat a dignified middle-aged man. Who are you? Where is this place? Yun Tian stared at all the people around him vigilantly, crying out. The middle-aged man who sat at the very end sneered. I am one of the 3 emperors of the beast god continent, Tiger Emperor Lankiros. What, an emperor of the beast god continent? With that, Yun Tian was shocked. He stared at the people in the hall with dread. Are you all experts of the beast god continent? An odd smile formed on Lankiros' face. Human, you have 2 choices right now. The first would be telling me everything you know regarding the winged tiger god and using that to exchange for your life. The second would be dying. The first, I choose the first. I indeed know quite a lot about the winged tiger god. I'll tell you all about it, Yun Tian said with no hesitation. Did he not travel such a long distance just to tell these experts this information? Very soon, Yun Tian told everything he knew to the beast god continent experts. He placed emphasis on Jian Chen and the Changyang clan when he mentioned them, and also explained the fact that the winged tiger god was with Jian Chen in detail. Jian Chen. The Changyang clan, Lankiros murmured quietly. Shortly afterward, a cold smile formed on his face. He stood up from his throne and said, Everyone, it just happens to be that the 3 months have passed. Send orders down for everyone to go to the Tian Yuan continent with me immediately. The experts immediately left the island which they had stayed on for 3 months, leaving behind Yun Tian. With their departure, the grand palace also collapsed with a loud sound, turning into pieces of tough rock. Not long afterward, another intense battle erupted in the northern seas. It was so intense that even the sky darkened as of a result, causing the sun and moon to dull. The magical beasts from the beast god continent wanted to enter the Tian Yuan continent in search of the winged tiger god, but they were met with the intense resistance of the 10 protector clans and mercenary city. The experts from the beast god continent were repelled beyond the northern ocean. A few minute changes did indeed occur to the relationship between the protector Changyang clan and the other clans, but the protector clans and mercenary city worked unprecedentedly united in repelling the beast god continent. The resistance of the Tian Yuan continent is futile. When the ruler comes out of seclusion, the great army of the beast god continent will end the days of the Tian Yuan continent. The people that Lankiros had brought were not the opponents of the 10 protector clans. Additionally, he himself was not as powerful as the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, so all he could do was throw down a threat before returning to the Beast God Hall on the Beast God continent. When Lankiros returned, he immediately arrived outside the door of the 98th floor. He narrated everything that had happened at the Tian Yuan continent, with no deviation to what had actually happened. 5 years. I only need 5 years. I can make a breakthrough in 5 years, and at that time, I'll definitely make the Tian Yuan continent pay a heavy price. I'll let the winged tiger gods stay on that continent for a little longer. An extremely overbearing voice boomed from the 98th floor. In the blink of an eye, several more months passed by. Currently, the white-robed artifact spirit stood outside the hall in which Jian Chen was cultivating. He said, "Master, the seal of the origin energy will be released in 2 hours." Chapter 834. Infusing origin energy. The artifact spirit's voice passed through the many obstructions and was heard clearly by Jian Chen. Jian Chen sat with his legs crossed in the center of the completely sealed hall. Above his head, the sword spirits radiated with purple and azure lights, illuminating the entire hall. Right between them, there was a fist-sized monster core that was disappearing at a visible rate. It turned into a strand of chaotic force which radiated with destructive energy, entering Jian Chen. After refining the Class 7 monster core, Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes. "Ziying, Qing Sua, let's stop for now. We'll put the matter of refining chaotic force on the side temporarily." Ziying and Qing Sua stopped their refinement of chaotic force. They sensed the chaotic Niden in Jian Chen's dantian and they revealed a sliver of joy. Ziying said, "Master, if we continue with this speed, you'll reach the second layer of the chaotic body in just a few more years." A happy smile also formed on Jian Chen's face. "Let's continue the refinement after I absorb the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force and reach Class 7. If it's possible, I really do hope to be able to raise the chaotic body to the second layer. I wonder just how strong I will become after reaching the second layer." Jian Chen slowly stood up. After close to a year of secluded cultivation, he had refined several hundred Class 7 monster cores, adding hundreds of strands of chaotic force to his chaotic Niden, which made it grow larger once again. It was already the size of a dove's egg. Now that the problem of energy source was resolved, Jian Chen required time. If he had another year, he would be able to increase the chaotic Niden to the size of an egg, returning it to how it was before. When the chaotic Niden reached fist-sized, it would be the time he would break through to the second layer. Jian Chen exited the place that he had stayed for close to a year, before arriving at a side hall under the artifact spirit's guidance. As soon as he entered the side hall, Jian Chen's eyes lit up. His heart lost control and began to beat heavily because within the hall, he felt the vast and boundless origin energy of Radiant Saint Force. It was all gathered in the very center of the building, and sealed in there by an extremely powerful seal. None of it was able to leak out. The Tian Yuan continent did not have any of the origin energy. The reason why it would exist in the Saint artifact of the Radiant Saint Master Union was because it absorbed the surrounding Radiant Saint Force and then refined it into origin energy all by itself. This was the only reason why there would be Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters on the Tian Yuan continent. If the Saint artifact did not exist, no Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters would ever appear on the Tian Yuan continent. The artifact spirit stared at the seal with mixed emotions. He had control over everything in the artifact space. Here, he was as great as a god. He was the absolute ruler here, able to control everything. However, only the seal before him lied beyond his powers. Even the artifact spirit had no idea when the seal was forged because when he had gained intelligence, the seal had already existed for an unknown number of years. Even after so many years, he was still unsure of the origins of the seal even though he had become extremely powerful. He had tried to break it, but even when he used all he had, the seal did not even budge. He felt like he was bombarding a rock with eggs. Standing before the seal, Jian Chen's emotions fluctuated quickly. Reaching Class 7 as a Radiant Saint Master was extremely important to him. Once he reached Class 7, not only would he be able to revive his parents, he would even possess the strength to face off against Saint Kings. If Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters used the forbidden Arte God's descent, they could slaughter any and all Saint rulers. Even Supreme Saint Kings would feel greatly threatened. In the legends, the only Class 8 Heaven Saint Master in all of history cast the god's descent once in the ancient times. He directly slaughtered 2 Saint Emperors. Meanwhile, if the president of the Radiant Saint Union cast the technique at the peak of Class 7, he had absolute confidence that he could slaughter the Saint King ancestor of the Tsar family. It could be perceived just how powerful and terrifying the god's descent was. It was a heaven-defying arte. However, casting the arte would come with an extremely great price. Although Jian Qin had used it once before, it was not the real thing. Only the form was there but not the intent, so he did not need to pay any great price. But after reaching Class 7, he would be able to cast the true version of the arte. However, he would need to offer up at least a century of his life every time he used it. The stronger the god's descent, the greater number of years was needed to be offered. It could cost up to several centuries, or a millennia, or even more than that. This was the reason why the arte was classified as forbidden by the Union. Unless one was at the end of the line, no one would ever want to cast the arte. Jian Qin waited silently for 2 hours and the seal for the origin energy finally began to release by itself. A crack appeared and, white light immediately shot out from the seal, illuminating the entire hall. Shortly afterward, origin energy of radiant saint force floated out from the seal as visible white mist, slowly permeating the empty hall. Master, you only have 3 days to absorb the origin energy. After 3 days, it will be sucked into the seal again, before being sealed away once again, the artifact spirit said to Jian Qin. Jian Qin nodded. He forcefully suppressed his excitement and immediately sat down, beginning to absorb the origin energy. Jian Qin had learned the method of absorbing origin energy and breaking through to Class 7 from the artifact spirit long ago. He needed to infuse the origin energy into his soul, using it to change his soul, allowing the soul to morph. Once the soul morphed successfully, it would become more compatible with Radiant Saint Force. Not only would the speed for condensing Radiant Saint Force increase greatly, the strength when casting Radiant Arts would take a qualitative leap. Other than that, even the most basic healing power would improve vastly. Also, after the morphing of the soul, it would be able to hold the origin energy. With a strand of origin energy as a medium, it could absorb the surrounding Radiant Saint Force and slowly refine it into origin energy, allowing the origin energy to increase. This was how a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master's strength was measured. However, this origin energy refined by individuals could not be absorbed by other Radiant Saint Masters. As a result, all Class 7 breakthroughs required the use of this artifact. Jian Qin sat cross-legged on the ground. He relaxed his mind, putting his effort into an attempt to infuse a strand of origin energy. Currently, he was going through an extremely crucial step in reaching Class 7. Only by infusing some origin energy into his soul could he begin absorbing it. He needed the origin energy to morph his soul. This was the most crucial part for breaking through to Class 7. Throughout history, there were many Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters who had reached this step but were unable to infuse origin energy into their souls and hence lost their opportunity of reaching Class 7. Jian Qin focused his concentration and his presence burst out from his body. He worked hard to infuse the origin energy. However, the origin energy seemed to reject the approach of Jian Qin's presence very much. No matter how he tried, he was unable to infuse even a single strand of it. Jian Qin did not become anxious at all. Currently, only 2 hours had passed, so there was still plenty of time. He constantly tried various methods to form a connection with the origin energy, persistently attempting to understand it. Finally, after half a day, Jian Qin successfully infused a strand of origin energy into his soul. Roping it in with his presence, the origin energy slowly approached his head, before entering his brain through the very top. Boom! Suddenly, Jian Qin's mind rumbled. As soon as the origin energy entered Jian Qin's mind, it transformed into a vast energy, filling up Jian Qin's entire sea of consciousness. It was beginning to change Jian Qin's soul with its property. However, 2 rays of light, one azure and one purple, sprang out immediately, blocking the movements of the origin energy. This power might be useless in the future, but it's of great use to master with his current strength. Qing Sua, let's give way. Zi Ying's voice sounded in the sea of consciousness, and soon afterward, the two obstructing rays of light disappeared. Without the obstruction of the purple and azure rays of light, the origin energy immediately began to infuse into Jian Chen's soul. His soul changed bit by bit, currently undergoing a metamorphosis. Jian Chen was drowned in the euphoria of his soul being refined. Currently, he could clearly feel his soul strengthening with lightning speed. Not only did his control and ability to sense radiant saint force increase, even his presence strengthened quickly. It may not have directly increased Jian Chen's strength, but it brought great benefits. After some time, the first strand of origin energy was finally consumed entirely. Jian Chen could distinctly feel that his presence was now several folds greater than before, while the radius of it had increased from the previous 20 kilometers to 100 kilometers. Jian Chen did not pause at all after refining the first strand of origin energy, immediately attempting to infuse a second strand. Due to the fact that Jian Chen had already refined a strand, it was extremely smooth this time. Very soon, the second strand of origin energy had also entered his mind. Chapter 835, Reaching Class 7. With the infusion of the second strand of origin energy, Jian Chen's soul took another qualitative leap, becoming much stronger. The radius of his presence increased from 100 kilometers to 150. The bone-deep euphoria from refining the spirit almost caused Jian Chen to lose control and moan. The soul was the basis of a person, it was the origin of life. Without personally experiencing the refinement of the soul, it would be impossible for anyone to imagine just how great the euphoria was from deep within the soul. The absorption of the second strand of origin energy was much faster than before. Soon enough, the second strand was also absorbed, completely infused into Jian Chen's soul and causing his morphing soul to become even more powerful. The radius of his presence had also increased to 180 kilometers. The speed at which his presence strengthened slowed down the more he absorbed. Jian Chen immediately began absorbing a third strand of origin energy. Soon enough, it was completely infused into Jian Chen, who then moved on to a fourth, fifth, sixth. As more and more origin energy of radiant saint force was absorbed by Jian Chen, his soul strengthened at an unbelievable rate. His presence had already reached a radius of hundreds of kilometers, currently stretching towards the thousands. The artifact spirit stood nearby, watching over Jian Chen. He was there to prevent any accidents from happening as Jian Chen absorbed the origin energy. He stared fixedly at Jian Chen and said softly, "Master, you need to absorb as much origin energy as you can. The origin energy right now is like building a foundation for Master. It's extremely important because this relates to Master's future achievements. The more origin energy you infuse, the greater your future achievements as a Radiant Saint Master." The artifact spirit's words were heard clearly by Jian Chen, but he said nothing in reply. Instead, his absorption speed increased distinctly. Jian Chen himself understood that before him was a great chance. He had 3 days to absorb as much origin energy as he wished, but once this period passed, he would need to wait 50 years before he could absorb origin energy so freely again. This period of time was a little too long for Jian Chen. Currently, he had only lived for a little over 2 decades. He had not even lived for half of that time. Meanwhile, as Jian Chen absorbed the origin energy comfortably in the artifact space, the Radiant Saint Master Union on the distant Tian Yuan continent instead announced some information that caused a very great commotion. The Union had actually pushed back the date at which the top 10 competitors could enter the artifact space to break through to Class 7, and no one was able to give a clear answer on how long the delay would last. As soon as this was announced by the Union, it spread through the entire city like wildfire. It then began to spread in all directions, causing a very great uproar between groups of Radiant Saint Masters. This was because ever since the Union was founded, the date for a chance to reach Class 7 every 50 years had never changed. It had been maintained for countless years, yet now the Union had suddenly pushed back that date. Many people fell into confusion immediately, especially those who were supposed to enter the artifact space. They even felt resentful of the Union, demanding a logical explanation. The Union only provided a vague explanation about it this time. They did not go into the details, hiding the fact that the Saint artifact had been lost as much as they could. Although there were also the 8 clans of the City of God and the 3 great clans that controlled the Holy Empire, they did not leak any part of it, and also demanded all clan members who knew this to be quiet. This was because those in command in all 3 clans knew that the Union would lose its unity among Radiant Saint Masters if the news was spread, and would collapse in a short amount of time. The Union may not have been controlled by the 3 great clans, but they were still a peak organization that belonged to the Holy Empire. Once the Union dissolved, it would decrease the Empire's overall strength. This was not something the 3 clans wanted to see. As a result, not only did the 3 clans withhold the information regarding the loss of the artifact, they even worked together with the Union to deal with this. Currently, the white-robed Quan Yu Kai lay lazily on a great soft bed in the huge castle of the headquarters. He stared blankly at the ceiling and muttered, "Just what the hell is the Union doing pushing back our time to enter the artifact to absorb origin energy? Sigh, I wonder when I can reach Class 7. And Brother Yang Yutian. I'd never thought he'd be a saint ruler. TSK, both a fighter and a Radiant Saint Master. It's never happened before on the Tian Yuan continent. And that tiger cub by Brother Yang Yutian's side has an even more terrifying origin. It's a winged tiger god. Brother Yang Yutian is extraordinary. Not only is he an unprecedented genius himself, even the winged tiger god follows him. I expect that his future accomplishments will be immeasurable. But right now, he doesn't seem to be in a great situation. Almost the entire continent is searching for him and apparently some protector clans have appeared. Sigh, with so many people searching for him, I wonder if he is still safe. In a secret underground basement in the Union, the President, Grand Elder and over 20 elders gathered. They sat around in a mysterious fashion, vaguely creating a formation. At the center of it was the 5th elder. Currently, over 20 of them, all Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters, were working together to cast a secret technique to search the continent. They were attempting to find Jian Chen and the Saint artifact's whereabouts. After a long while, all the elders on the ground slowly opened their eyes. Heavy fatigue appeared on their faces. Sitting in the center of the formation, the 5th elder's exhausted face was disappointed. He sighed deeply and shook his head. He was disheartened. I still haven't found the whereabouts of Yang Yutian and the Saint artifact. Not only are they missing from the continent, they're not even in the surrounding seas. Additionally, I can't feel the seal that I originally planted in Yang Yutian's mind at all. I really have no idea where he's hiding for him to be so difficult to find. Right now, the 10 protector clans and the ancient clans are still scouring the entire continent in search of Yang Yutian. They cast secret techniques often to search the entire continent, but they still haven't found him. Looks like Yang Yutian's received support from someone great. He's hiding in a space where even the 10 clans can't find, the president said gloomily. Yang Yutian's sister seems to be the holy maiden of the Arctic Ice God Hall. Do you think Yang Yutian's hiding in the Ice God Hall? An elder proposed. With that, all the elders furrowed their eyebrows. After a period of silence, the Grand Elder spoke out gruffly, if Yang Yutian's really hiding at the Ice God Hall, then even the 10 protector clans can't do anything, much less us. Today's the day which the seal on the origin energy is released. Yang Yutian is probably comfortably absorbing origin energy right now. When we find him, we can't let him off so easily, an elder said rather angrily. An elder immediately rebuked him with a cold smile after hearing this. So what if we find Yang Yutian? Other than discussing with him politely to convince him to return the Saint artifact of the Union, what else is there? Do you perhaps want to use force on him? You probably don't know his background then. Not only is he a descendant of the protector clan of Changyang, he currently received the high regard of several great elders. Also, his eldest brother has become a disciple of the Pure Heart Pavilion. Other than all that, his sister Changyang Mingyue is the holy maiden of the Arctic Ice God Hall. Do you really think our union has the power to take on all three organizations? You're right. Yang Yutian's background is something else. We, the union, cannot be too forceful when we confront him. Otherwise, we'll be in for a loss instead of regaining anything. An elder agreed. The president stood up and said with some exhaustion, "All right, let's not discuss this anymore, everyone. Right now, we still haven't gotten Yang Yutian back, so whatever we say is pointless. Let's all go rest first. We'll cast the secret technique once again after some time and see if we can find where Yang Yutian is." In the artifact space among the Fantasy Star Ocean, the origin energy of radiant saint force that floated from the seal was constantly absorbed by Jian Chen. Hai's soul was like a bottomless hole. Even after infusing countless strands of origin energy, it showed no signs of being satisfied. It had never stopped absorbing origin energy. Currently, it was already the third day Jian Chen had spent absorbing origin energy. His presence had already become extremely powerful. If his presence 3 days ago was compared with right now, it would be like an ant compared to an elephant. Jian Chen's presence could only cover a radius of 20 kilometers 3 days ago. Now, it could easily spread beyond 1,000 kilometers. The artifact spirit remained standing not too far from Jian Chen, watching over him. He murmured, "Master's talent as a radiant saint master is extremely great. The amount of origin energy he's absorbed has exceeded any class 7 radiant saint master in all of history. Even the current president would not be able to absorb so much." However, the president's already reached his limit in the absorption of origin energy. He can't infuse anymore, so he won't be able to break through to class 8 no matter what for the rest of his life. Though, where is Master's limit? Chapter 836, Heiyu breaks through. The artifact spirit remains standing not too far from Jian Chen, watching over him. He murmured, "Master's talent as a radiant saint master is extremely great. The amount of origin energy he's absorbed has exceeded any class 7 radiant saint master in all of history. Even the current president would not be able to absorb so much." However, the president's already reached his limit in the absorption of origin energy. He can't infuse anymore, so he won't be able to break through to class 8 no matter what for the rest of his life. Though, where is Master's limit? But Master isn't an ordinary person. Otherwise, why would the 2 overlords of great origins follow him? Master will probably become the second class 8 radiant saint master on the continent and continue with the glory that belonged to the ancient class 8 radiant saint master. Time passed slowly. Soon, it reached the end of the 3rd day and the cracked seal in the hall began to heal slowly at a visible rate. At the same time, a powerful suction force appeared, slowly sucking up the origin energy that had leaked out. Jian Chen knew that the seal was about to close up again. He could not help but reveal a sliver of anxiety. He knew this was a 1 in 50 years chance, so he did not want to miss it so easily. He wanted to take this chance to absorb a little more origin energy. "I can't make it." Feeling the origin energy decrease rapidly, Jian Chen gritted his teeth. He diverted his attention from the incompletely infused origin energy in his soul and expanded his presence with all his might. He formed a great net, enveloping over hundreds of strands of origin energy, before forcefully reeling them into his sea of consciousness. He was fighting for origin energy against the seal. As he did this, a thought flashed through Jian Chen's head. He pulled out a purple metal from his space ring and said, "This purple metal has the ability to store the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force. Artifact Spirit, store some in there quickly." The purple metal was the exact same metal that the Grand Elder of the Radiant Saint Master Union had gifted Jian Chen. The artifact spirit accepted the metal and examined it. A sliver of astonishment appeared in his eyes. This metal actually contains a weird rock. It can indeed store a small quantity of origin energy. But someone's already left a sliver of origin energy in it. I'll erase it right now. The artifact spirit erased the origin energy left inside by the Grand Elder before swinging his arm. Immediately, several dozen strands of origin energy flew into the metal right before they were sucked away, all disappearing into it. It's a pity that its storage is so small. A couple dozen strands is already its absolute limit. If there was a larger piece of the rock, it could probably store even more. The artifact spirit sighed as he looked at the purple metal in his hand. The seal had finally closed completely. All the origin energy floating about in the surroundings disappeared, without even a strand remaining, and the entire hall returned to its initial peace. Jian Qin remained focused. He sat on the ground like before, refining the origin energy. Toward the end, he sucked in over 100 strands of origin energy. These strands currently floated about in his soul and were not completely refined or infused. Slowly, an invisible pressure gradually permeated the slightly dark hall. This pressure was not due to an aura but from the soul. It was possible to use this pressure to directly affect the souls of other people. Jian Qin had now become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. However, the disparity of strength between Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters was extremely great. There was only one way to increase a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master's strength, and that was to refine origin energy from Radiant Saint Force. The more origin energy they infused into their soul, the more powerful they became. Although Jian Qin had only reached just Class 7, the amount of origin energy he had absorbed in those 3 days was far beyond the levels of someone who had recently broken through. As a result, the moment he became a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, Jian Qin's strength already exceeded anyone who had just broken through recently. In fact, he was even stronger than a few elders of the Union. The 100-odd strands of origin energy were constantly being refined in Jian Qin's sea of consciousness. The pressure originating from his soul also constantly increased. After close to an hour, Jian Qin finally refined it all. Currently, Jian Qin could sense that his soul had become much more powerful than before. Additionally, his ability to sense and control the surrounding Radiant Saint Force had reached a terrifying level. It seemed that he only needed a single thought to instantly cast a Radiant Arte and attack, without the need of charging up. The Union divides the strength of Radiant Saint Masters into 10 levels, while the levels between 5 and 10 are that of Class 7. I wonder what level I'm currently at, Jian Qin murmured. Master, you've already reached level 6. The artifact spirit's voice appeared in Jian Qin's mind. With that, Jian Qin rejoiced. He mumbled, I never thought that as soon as I broke through to Class 7, I would skip level 5 and reach level 6. It's a pity that those 3 days were too short. If I had some more time, my strength as a Radiant Saint Master would definitely not just stop here. I just wonder if I can reach Class 8 in the future. Master, your talent is very great. Your infusion speed of origin energy is extremely fast, the fastest of all Radiant Saint Masters I've seen. However, the higher your strength reaches, the more difficult it becomes to increase it. The amount of time you need will also increase, and every person's soul has a limit for infusing origin energy. It's this very limit that stops many Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters where they are, unable to break through and reach Class 8. An example would be the President of the Union. I was able to tell that he had reached his limit long ago, so he will never be able to reach Class 8 in this life, even if he tries to use those unorthodox methods. Explained the artifact spirit. Jian Qin was in thought. He mumbled, is that so? Looks like whether I'll be able to reach Class 7 will depend on the limit of origin energy my soul will be able to hold. If my soul's limit is too low, no matter how great my talent is, I will never be able to reach Class 8. In the next moment, Jian Qin seemed to realize something. He laughed gently. Whatever. I'm a fighter. I primarily cultivate the chaotic body. Being a Radiant Saint Master is only a secondary identity. Class 7 and Class 8 don't mean much to me. The main reason why I was so frantic about reaching Class 7 was for my parents, as well as healing Xiao Bai's mother. The artifact spirit did not continue this topic. He extended the purple metal in his hand before Jian Chen and said, "Master, this one has already stored some origin energy in here according to your orders. Though, there isn't much, only several dozen strands." Jian Chen examined the purple metal in his hand and muttered to himself, "I wonder if there really are materials that can store the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force in the world. Looks like I need to collect quite a lot of it. It'll be of great use in the future." Jian Chen put the purple metal away and left the hall. He did not absorb the origin energy stored in the metal. Leaving the hall, Jian Chen retrieved some more Class 7 monster cores from the artifact spirit, before immediately going into seclusion, continuing his cultivation. "Now that I've become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, I have the ability to revive my parents, as well as heal the wounds of Xiao Bai's mother, Rum Guinness. As for Uncle Kendall's son, Sans, I only need to use a strand of origin energy to remake his destroyed saint weapon. One of the matters lingering in my heart can finally be laid to rest. But I still can't return to the continent right now. I need to strengthen quickly. Although I now have the ability to threaten Saint Kings, the forbidden arte cannot be used so easily. Its price is too great." Many thoughts appeared in Jian Chen's head, but soon afterward, he turned all of them into motivation. He dismissed any random thoughts he had, immediately closing his eyes and beginning to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, Jian Chen stayed another year in the Saint artifact. In that time, he constantly cultivated, relying on absorbing the energy in monster cores to increase his chaotic force. Going through large numbers of high-class cores, his chaotic Niden had already become the size of a chicken's egg. The chaotic Niden which he had almost consumed entirely in the City of God had been revived, allowing him to return to his previous peak. Even though that had happened, Jian Chen did not have any intentions of resting. He continued to endure the monotony and loneliness silently in seclusion, working hard to absorb monster cores to slowly make his chaotic Niden grow. His aim was to expand the Niden to the size of a fist. Then it would be time for him to break through to the second layer. At the same time, outside the Saint artifact, the number of dragon souls floating about the mountains had increased. The depths of the Fantasy Star Ocean had almost become a paradise for dragon souls. They could be seen floating about in the mountain ranges everywhere like they were taking leisure strolls. And from time to time, there would be a long dragon roar. A huge door stood erect in the center of all that, connecting the sky and the earth. It radiated with great beams of light, resplendent and dazzling. Countless dragon souls passed through the door, coming in and out. This was the graveyard of the dragon clan, the dragon's necropolis. Suddenly, a powerful aura appeared in the necropolis. Like roaring waves, it spread outward towards the Fantasy Star Ocean with an unstoppable force, enveloping the entire region in a short while. Roar! This aura was not from a member of the dragon clan but from an outsider. It attracted the attention of all the dragon souls inside and outside the necropolis as soon as it spread out. Especially due to the fact that the outsider's presence was in the dragon's necropolis, it triggered all the dragon souls. Immediately, deafening dragon roars flooded the entire Fantasy Star Ocean. At this moment, no matter if it were the dragon souls in the necropolis or those roaming outside, they all roared loudly. Several tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dragons roared together. This commotion could literally be described as earth-shaking, causing mountain ranges to fall and the void to collapse purely from the sound. Chapter 837, Class 9 Dragon Souls. The roars from several tens of thousands of dragon souls were filled with absolute hatred. They did not have intelligence, but subconsciously, the dragon's necropolis had become their holy land, a holy land that could not be trespassed by outsiders. Yet at this moment, the aura of an outsider had appeared in the holy land of countless dragon souls. This agitated all of them, it triggered them. The roars from several tens of thousands of dragon souls threatened to collapse the world. The void trembled, the earth shook, and mountain ranges collapsed. The Fantasy Star Ocean's appearance was finally changed in this very moment after countless years. The entire island shook violently, the ground jolting and opening up chasms thousands of meters deep. Many of the surrounding mountains directly exploded as they could not withstand the roars of over 10,000 dragon souls. The mountains and forests turned into a mess. Following closely, the dragon souls still roaming outside roared angrily, flying toward the necropolis with their greatest speed. In the necropolis, the golden divine dragon Rui Jin stood sternly. The mutated divine alligator Heiyu had broken through his concealment of dragon aura when he stepped into the 9th heavenly layer, alarming all the dragon souls in the necropolis. Currently, tens of thousand dragon souls roared together high up in the sky of the necropolis. They all rushed at where Heiyu was standing, each opening its mouth and spitting dragon breaths at his location. Immediately, the clustered dragon breaths covered the sky, shooting in from all directions with vast energy ripples. It caused the space in the necropolis to tremble. The dragon souls who spat dragon breaths varied in strength. The weakest were only Heaven's Saint Masters, while the strongest were in the 9th heavenly layer, or the great perfection of the 9th heavenly layer as a Saint King. The surging energy ripples had even made the 9th heavenly layer Rui Jin feel a tingle down his spine. "Hey you, quickly hide all of your presence," Rui Jin cried out gruffly. Afterward, he dodged the dragon breaths coming in from all directions. Heiyu, who had just broken through to the 9th heavenly layer, became extremely grim. He understood just how terrifying the necropolis was. Not only were there 9th heavenly layer Saint Kings or Saint Kings at great perfection, there were even dragon souls as powerful as Saint Emperors. Even though his strength had increased greatly, he was still faced with the threat of dying here. Heiyu immediately erased his presence. Afterward, he turned into a black streak of light, directly passing through the area with the weakest dragon breath and flying toward the exit of the necropolis. However, all the dragon souls had already locked onto him. Even though Heiyu erased his aura completely, he was still faced with pursuit. Countless dragon souls surrounded him from all directions, virtually forming a round seal, locking in the surroundings. They blocked all of Heiyu's paths of escape. A stern light flickered in Heiyu's eyes. He roared deeply and suddenly, and his body began to expand. In that instance, he turned into a 10,000-meter-long alligator, returning to his original form. Heiyu was a mutated divine alligator. Although he was not a beast of antiquity, he possessed great capability in battle that could rival beasts of antiquity. With a roar at the sky, he charged at the weakest location with full speed. With just a flash of great black light, Heiyu had already arrived before the seal formed from several dozen Class 7 dragon souls and a few Class 8 ones. He held back nothing, using his full strength. He did not pay any attention to the attacks of the Class 7 dragon souls, allowing them to strike his huge body. He devoted all his strength to handling the Class 8 dragon souls. In the end, after resisting the attacks from several dozen Class 7 dragon souls, he finally destroyed the few Class 8 dragon souls. Without pausing, he made use of every second, flying toward the outside of the necropolis. Roar! 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 At this very moment, several louder, clearer sounds rose from the necropolis. Together with it, an earth-shatteringly vast aura appeared from the very depths of the necropolis. It was so powerful that it had already reached an astounding level, as if it possessed the power to destroy the surroundings with just its aura. Suddenly, the huge necropolis began to tremble violently. Several terrifying ripples of energy that were capable of destroying worlds emerged from the very depths of the necropolis. A few dragon souls with lengths reaching tens of thousands of meters long slowly appeared from the huge gravestones in the very depths. With their appearance, all the other dragon souls in the necropolis, including the Class 7 and 8 souls, stopped chasing Heiyu. They all faced the huge dragon souls that had just emerged, laying their bodies on the ground. They seemed to be greeting a lord upon arrival. Class 9 dragon souls. Heiyu was shocked and immediately turned sheet white. He had almost been shocked to the point that his soul exited his body. Immediately, he pushed his speed to its limit, fleeing toward the exit. Rui Jin stood closely with an extremely grim expression. He immediately struck out, sending a clump of dragon aura flying as he yelled out, "Hey you, hide in this dragon aura or you'll be doomed for sure." Hey Yu immediately turned back into his human form, shooting into the dragon aura from Rui Jin with a flash. At the same time, he completely erased his presence and energy traces on him. Roar! A Class 9 dragon soul cried out with a deafening roar. It caused the entire space to tremble violently, and afterward, it directly spat a mouthful of powerful dragon flames at the entrance to the space, rushing toward He Yu with a temperature that seemed to be able to burn space. Although He Yu's presence was concealed by the dragon aura, there was still some residue outside the aura. It was not enough to trick the Class 9 dragon soul that was as powerful as a human Saint Emperor. The dragon flames turned into a roaring fireball, shooting across the sky like a meteor. It directly flew toward He Yu, several times faster than he could move. He Yu was grim. Currently, he flew in a straight path with the dragon aura shot out by Rui Jin, unable to change directions. The dragon flames that surged up from behind followed the same route. If he were to continue like this, the dragon flames would catch up very quickly. He Yu looked back at the dragon flames that closed in quickly, before glancing at the entrance in sight. He gritted his teeth and his speed increased abruptly, directly charging out of the dragon aura and shooting toward the entrance like a flash of lightning. Without the concealment of the dragon aura, He Yu's presence was immediately exposed to the senses of all the dragons in the necropolis. Immediately, the Class 9 dragon souls roared and exhaled a few more dragon breaths that shot toward He Yu with incomparable speed. However, He Yu had already charged out of the necropolis into the Fantasy Star Ocean at this moment. He immediately changed his direction and flew toward the mountain ranges down below, avoiding the dragon breaths that tailed him. However, there were still many dragon souls outside the necropolis. As soon as he left it, he was surrounded once again by the dragon souls outside. Though, they seemed to be relatively weaker, allowing He Yu to forcefully kill a way out with his great strength. Roar! A great dragon roar reverberated in the necropolis. Vast auras caused the entirety of the necropolis to tremble violently as the Class 9 dragon souls all left their den, coming out in pursuit. Crap! I need to leave here immediately. He Yu became heavy-hearted. He lost all intentions to stay here any longer, immediately charging toward the outside, hoping to leave the Fantasy Star Ocean before the Class 9 dragon souls caught up. Hide your presence immediately. Don't act brashly. At this very moment, Rui Jin's stern voice appeared in He Yu's head. Rui Jin had already appeared beside He Yu at a certain time. He immediately grabbed He Yu's shoulder, flying to the side. He Yu immediately gave up on the idea of moving all by himself. He concealed all of his presence, handing himself to Rui Jin to handle. Rui Jin used his own dragon aura to envelope He Yu, constantly changing directions among the mountain ranges as they flew. He shook off the dragon souls that tailed them. Roar! Great dragon roars resounded in the surroundings. A humongous golden dragon head extended from the necropolis. A Class 9 dragon soul had already left the necropolis, now appearing in the Fantasy Star Ocean. However, now that He Yu was with Rui Jin, the foreign presence was completely hidden by the pure dragon aura that Rui Jin radiated. Even though it was a Class 9 dragon soul with shocking strength, in the end, it possessed no intelligence. It did not detect He Yu at all. It was not the only one to lose track of He Yu, the other dragon souls did too, each roaring angrily as they floated about in the surroundings. After searching and failing to find He Yu even after half a day, the Class 9 dragon soul could not help but be furious, producing an earth-shaking roar at the sky. Rumble. The power of this roar was even more greater than the previous roars of tens of thousands of dragons together. Terrifying sound waves directly blew up several mountain ranges, while countless mountain peaks collapsed in the surroundings. Even the dragon aura around Heiyu shook violently, almost collapsing. The dragon roar, together with the vast dragon aura, had even made Heiyu shiver slightly. A sliver of concealed but extremely deep fear appeared in the depths of his eyes. After the mountains collapsed, the saint artifact hidden in the cave was also exposed. Even though it did not radiate with energy ripples, it was still a foreign object. It was immediately sensed by several dragon souls without the rocks isolating its presence. Immediately, the surrounding dragon souls placed all their attention on it, flying over from all directions. The saint artifact immediately glowed with a faint golden light. Afterward, it shot off toward the distance with a swish, unwilling to stay put. Countless Class 7 and 8 dragon souls exhaled dragon breaths. The dragon breaths filled the sky, surging over from all directions and enveloping everything in its path. It swallowed the saint artifact very quickly. Although the saint artifact was only supportive in nature and did not possess powerful offensive abilities, it was not something that the Class 8 dragon souls could damage thanks to its toughness. The artifact directly passed through the sky full of dragon breaths, continuing outward without any decrease in speed. It did not sustain any damage at all. Suddenly, the Class 9 dragon soul that had emerged from the necropolis spat a mouthful of dragon flames. It turned into a sea of fire, enveloping the saint artifact. Its terrifying heat caused the surrounding rocks to melt into lava, turning the region into a land of magma. Swallowed by the dragon flames, the golden tower immediately became red-hot. The strength of the Class 9 dragon soul was equivalent to a human Saint Emperor. The attacks from Saint Emperors were enough to damage the artifact. Chapter 838, Assistance from Rue Jin. Although the Class 9 dragon soul had the ability to damage the Saint artifact, just dragon flames were not enough to deal anything significant. At most, it could just heat up the Saint artifact. The Saint artifact stared at the scorching dragon flames and transformed into a golden streak of light, shooting across the sky. It directly shot out of the dragon flames and flew toward the exterior of the Fantasy Star Ocean. Roar! The golden Class 9 dragon soul produced a long roar once again. Shortly afterward, it shrunk to only 100 meters in length, flying out of the necropolis in pursuit of the Saint artifact. It clearly did not intend to let it go. Afterward, a few more Class 9 dragon souls also shot out of the necropolis with shrunken bodies and chased the artifact with lightning speed. Currently, the artifact was being completely piloted by the artifact spirit. Its speed absolutely could not match the Class 9 dragon souls. They possessed the abilities of their former lives. They caught up instantly. One of the Class 9 dragon souls directly opened its mouth and bit at the Saint artifact. Screech! The Class 9 dragon soul's ethereal-looking teeth seemed tangible. Its teeth were extremely tough and intense sparks were produced as it scrapped the artifact. Combined with the screeching of metal, the dragon's sharp teeth actually left a shallow mark on the artifact. The golden glow of the artifact grew brighter and brighter as it began to tremble violently. It immediately shot out of the dragon soul's mouth just as the dragon soul widened its jaws again. The artifact flew into the distance with even greater speed than before. Although the artifact spirit also possessed the strength of a Saint Emperor, it could only be wholly used inside the artifact space. If it were outside, it would struggle to even deal with a Saint ruler. This was because the artifact was not primarily an offensive treasure, so the power of its attacks outside was pitiful. In the direction the artifact fled, the space suddenly cracked open. A blurry and huge dragon claw swept downward at the artifact. This ordinary-looking strike was filled with great amounts of dragon aura. Wherever the claw passed by, the surrounding space would immediately rip and produce a space of empty darkness. Cling! The sharp claws forcefully swept across the Saint artifact. The fist-sized artifact was immediately sent flying far away and a clear scratch appeared on it. Even the space within the artifact was greatly affected by this heavy strike. The entire space began to tremble violently and the hazy white sky constantly churned. It was as if a serpent was swimming around, causing the clouds to surge and the space to tremble. Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress had already emerged from their secluded cultivation. They had already received the notification from the artifact spirit. They currently stood side by side in the air as they stared grimly at the constantly trembling artifact space. What's happened? Have the dragon souls outside discovered us? An odd light flickered through the heavenly enchantress's mesmerizing eyes. Her eyebrows were furrowed with faint worry. This was because she knew extremely well that the most dangerous aspect of the fantasy star ocean was certainly those mindless dragon souls. It was definitely not those fallen living corpses or the region full of formations. If they encountered the living corpses or formations, there was a chance for victory or escape. On the other hand, once they met dragon souls, it would be almost guaranteed death. Even Supreme Saint Kings would face the danger of dying because once they provoked one dragon soul, it would draw in even more dragon souls with greater strength. Artifact Spirit, what's the situation outside? Jian Chen asked with a gruff voice. Master, we're currently facing the attacks from several Saint Emperor dragon souls, the artifact spirit's grim voice sounded out of nowhere. Both Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress sucked in a breath of cold air and they paled slightly. Several Saint Emperor dragon souls. As soon as they thought of this lineup that was already invincible on the Tian Yuan continent, they felt their mouths go dry and a feeling of despair permeated their minds. Artifact Spirit, do you have confidence in escaping from the Class 9 dragon souls, and can those dragon souls break through the artifact? Jian Chen asked gruffly once again. Currently, the Saint Artifact was their only hope. If they left the artifact space, they would certainly die against the Class 9 dragon souls. After all, these dragon souls possessed no intelligence. There were no chances of negotiation. The dragon souls still possess abilities from their former lives. If they use secret techniques of the dragon clan and strike with their full strength, the Saint Artifact will not be able to sustain attacks from that degree. Master, I will do all I can and see if we can escape from them, the artifact spirit's voice boomed sternly. At this moment, the artifact spirit had completely lost its calm and cool because it was also dancing on the edge of life or death now. Inside the Fantasy Star Ocean, the tower-shaped Golden Saint Artifact was sent flying by the Class 9 Dragon Soul. It directly collided with a great boulder that was a dozen or so kilometers away and was deeply embedded in it. Bang! Shortly afterward, the boulder exploded. The Saint Artifact shot out as it glowed with dense golden light, transforming into a golden streak of light as it flew along the ground through the messy mountains. Using the rocks as cover, it quickly fled toward the outskirts of the Fantasy Star Ocean. It could only shake off the Class 9 dragon souls behind if it left this place. The dragon souls all roared one after another from behind, closely pursuing the Saint Artifact. They seemed to be pursuing enemies from blood feuds, unwilling to give up. The surroundings that the dragon souls passed would immediately face destruction. If it did not turn into chasms thousands of meters deep, it would become a land of magma or an icebound plain. This was all due to their dragon breaths, which would destroy countless heavenly resources permanently. However, in the process of fleeing, the Saint Artifact received a few more attacks. The markings on the artifact increased, but fortunately, the Class 9 dragon souls did not use any secret techniques. Otherwise, the damage to the Saint Artifact would not be limited to this. Meanwhile, the artifact was also knocked about the depths of the Fantasy Star Ocean. After half a day of fleeing, it still remained in the deepest parts. As the Saint Artifact was knocked flying by a Class 9 dragon soul, Ruijin suddenly appeared beside it with Heiyu this time. Ruijin directly grabbed the Saint Artifact and with a flash, he disappeared with Heiyu. The dragon souls growled deeply as they flew past the Saint Artifact's previous location, slowly coming to a stop. They all floated around mid-air as they looked about with their huge dragon heads, searching for the artifact's presence. Ruijin stood on a cliff over 10 kilometers away with a hand on the artifact. He radiated with a great dragon aura, concealing the presences of the Saint Artifact and Heiyu. He was a member of the dragon clan himself, so he did not become a target of the dragon soul's attacks. Artifact Spirit, only by following me can you be safe here. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape from the island at all, Rui Jin said deeply. Meanwhile, he stared at the golden, 100-meter-long Class 9 dragon soul far away with mixed emotions. The gaze was sorrowful. A thought emerged from the saint artifact. The artifact spirit was currently communicating with Rui Jin. After a while, Rui Jin glanced toward the mutated divine alligator beside him. Hey you, it'll probably be a few days before the island can recover its peace. Having you always following me is still not safe in the end. You should return to the artifact space first, where you might as well borrow the artifact spirit's origin energy of radiant saint force to heal your missing arm. Hey you glanced at the Class 9 dragon souls with some lingering fear, before nodding silently. Afterward, a white light shot out from the artifact. It enveloped Hey you before disappearing, sucking him into the artifact space. Rui Jin carried the palm-sized saint artifact in his hand. He looked toward the Class 9 golden dragon again. It was pacing around, as it had lost track of the artifact's presence. With mixed emotions, Rui Jin slowly kneeled down. From afar, he bowed his head down 9 times toward the Class 9 dragon soul and said, "Grandson pays respects to ancestor." Rui Jin did not leave the island. Instead, he took the saint artifact with him to a safe area and carved out a cave, temporarily settling down to wait for everything to calm down outside. Inside the artifact space, Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress remained floating in the air grimly. They had no idea about the situation outside. At this very moment, the space before the two rippled violently. Shortly afterward, a black-robed old man appeared out of nowhere. To no surprise, it was Hey Yu, the mutated divine alligator. Hey Yu's sudden appearance immediately caused the heavenly enchantress to narrow her eyes. The heavenly enchantress did not know about the details of the saint artifact, so she thought that Hey Yu wanted to do horrible things to them. She immediately became cautious. When Jian Chen saw Hey Yu properly, his eyes also narrowed abruptly. He had obviously recognized Hey Yu and asked out of reflex, "Why would you appear here?" Hey Yu glanced past Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress indifferently. He paid no attention to them and instead said to the empty space, "I hope Sir Artifact Spirit can heal my missing arm." The artifact spirit appeared out of nowhere. He saw Jian Chen's doubt and immediately opened his mouth and said, "Master," the artifact spirit explained what happened outside to Jian Chen. When they learned that the golden divine dragon, Rui Jin, was currently using his dragon aura to conceal the saint artifact and that they were now safe, the two of them could not help but relax slightly. However, when Hey Yu was shocked when he heard the artifact spirit refer to Jian Chen as master. A storm brewed in his heart, he was perturbed. Hey Yu had stayed in the artifact space for thousands of years. He knew extremely well just how powerful the artifact spirit was. It was an existence that could rival human saint rulers, yet currently, the powerful spirit took a mere saint ruler as a master completely willingly. It was unbelievable to him. However, Hey Yu soon remembered that even the winged tiger god was with Jian Chen, so his doubts disappeared. He could already tell that Jian Chen was extraordinary, his background and origin was probably beyond imagination. Realizing this, Hey Yu's gaze toward Jian Chen immediately experienced some changes. He no longer dared to look down on Jian Chen, who was a mere saint ruler. Only at this moment did Jian Chen realize that Hey Yu's left sleeve was empty. He asked out of curiosity, "Senior, is your arm missing due to the Class 9 dragon souls outside?" If it was before, Hey Yu would not bother responding to Jian Chen's question with his status. However, it was different now. He said indifferently, "My arm was not severed by the Class 9 dragon souls but by a weird formation in the sky of the island." With that, his thoughts jumped to a conclusion. He immediately thought of the forbidden sky 10 meters above. He gained a clear understanding of just how terrifying it was once again. He had never thought that even the mutated divine alligator would also need to pay such a great price as a saint king of the 8th heavenly layer. Chapter 839, Obtaining the Dragon's Saliva. The artifact spirit pointed and a strand of origin energy immediately appeared out of nowhere. It turned into a white streak of light before disappearing into Heiyu's body. As the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force entered Heiyu's body, a powerful white light immediately began to radiate from him, enveloping him entirely. Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters could heal missing limbs or even revive the dead because of the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force that they controlled. Only this origin energy had such heaven-defying abilities to heal the limbs of anybody. When Jian Chen had initially entered the City of God, the White Tiger inflicted a minor injury on a young master of a clan there when it bit off his finger. Since the finger was kept after being bitten off, just a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master was enough to heal it. That was not regrowing limbs. Enveloped by the thick Radiant Saint Force, Heiyu's empty left sleeve could be seen moving slightly through the bright white light. His severed left arm was currently regrowing at a visible rate. 2 hours later, the white light around Heiyu disappeared. At the same time, a new, abnormally white and soft arm had reappeared in his left arm socket. The skin was silky smooth, like that of an infant's. Heiyu moved his new arm and his expression was filled with joy. Shortly afterward, he clasped his fist toward the artifact and said gratefully, "I thank Sir Artifact Spirit. Heiyu will not forget this good deed. If there is the chance in the future, I will return it." The artifact spirit smiled slightly. Healing Heiyu's arm only needed a twitch of a finger for him. He had basically watched Heiyu grow up, so he naturally held a special attachment to Heiyu. With his arm back, Heiyu's mood clearly took a great turn. He looked toward Jian Chen and actually asked on own accord, "I wonder how I should refer to this brother." Heiyu did not hold any arrogance. Ever since the artifact spirit called Jian Chen Master, Jian Chen had already been elevated to a status equivalent to his own in Heiyu's heart. "I'm Jian Chen." Jian Chen clasped his hands. "So it's brother Jian Chen." "Right, so why has brother Jian Chen come to the Island of Dragons?" Heiyu's tone was extremely indifferent. He did not look down on Jian Chen, but with Jian Chen's current strength, he still did not deserve the respect of a 9th heavenly layer Saint King. After a slight pause, Jian Chen replied, "Actually, we came here in search of the dragon's saliva. The grass grows in the depths of the fantasy star ocean, but unfortunately, we encountered those dragon souls as soon as we reached the deeper parts. We were soon forced to hide in the Saint Artifact. Senior, have you found where the dragon's saliva grows?" "Dragon's saliva?" Heiyu furrowed his eyebrows. Right now, the outside has already become an utter mess from the Class 9 dragon souls. It's like an ancient battlefield with no signs of life. Even if there was dragon saliva, it would no longer exist. With that, Jian Chen's expression changed. His heart immediately became heavy. If he was unable to find 100,000-year dragon saliva, his grandfather Changyang Zhu Yunkong would not be able to reach Saint Ruler. He would pass away very soon. Seeing Jian Chen's sudden change in expression, Heiyu guessed that perhaps the dragon saliva was extremely important to Jian Chen. After a slight hesitation, he said, "Now, there's perhaps only one place that dragon saliva still grow." Jian Chen's eyes flowed. He looked at Heiyu hopefully and asked, "Please tell me, senior." "The graveyard of the dragon clan." "The dragon's necropolis," Heiyu said gruffly. "The dragon's necropolis." Jian Chen murmured softly. His face was bitter. He had never seen the necropolis, but he did not even need to think to know that it was extremely dangerous. It was the home of the dragon souls. It was not a place that he could intrude. The necropolis is indeed extremely dangerous. Inside, there are Class 9 dragon souls. Entering without the strength of a Saint Emperor would just be seeking death. However, Rui Jin would be an exception. He's a golden divine dragon, the kings of the dragon clan. He is able to come in and out as he pleases. Perhaps, you can get Rui Jin to assist you in obtaining dragon saliva. He Yu continued. He Yu's words reignited the flames of hope in Jian Chen's despaired heart. He immediately ordered the artifact spirit to communicate with Rui Jin outside, to request his assistance in searching for the dragon saliva. After a slight deliberation, Rui Jin agreed to Jian Chen's request in the end. Afterward, Rui Jin re-entered the necropolis with the artifact in his hand. He picked 6 grasses and passed them through the artifact to Jian Chen. These dragon salivas would slowly grow after the saliva of dragons fell on the ground. All of the grasses in the necropolis were planted in the ancient times. Before the dragon clan had disappeared, these grasses were left behind by a few old dragons who had come to the necropolis right before they passed away. Countless years had passed since then, and every piece of the grass was a priceless treasure. If brought outside, it would raise a storm of blood. Not only would it attract many saint rulers to fight for it, even a few saint kings would be unable to resist its enticement. Inside the artifact space, Jian Chen carried the grass in his hand. He was filled with joy. He had no idea at all just how valuable the dragon saliva was, and all he thought about was how his grandfather could finally reach Saint Ruler. Standing beside Jian Chen, the heavenly enchantress would glance at the grasses in Jian Chen's hand from time to time. A sliver of desire appeared in her beautiful eyes. She knew some things about the dragon saliva, and she could already tell that these grasses had aged for a long time. They were beyond 100,000 years in age, which even made her show great interest. However, the grasses were obtained through Jian Chen's own connections. She had not helped out at all, so she could not ask for some. Jian Chen carried the dragon's saliva like a valuable treasure, but the excitement in his heart calmed down very quickly. Noticing the heavenly enchantress's gaze, he immediately understood. Keeping 2 grasses for himself, he passed the 4 other grasses to the heavenly enchantress and said, "Senior, you probably need these grasses more than me. You should take all the remaining ones." The heavenly enchantress stared blankly at the 4 grasses in Jian Chen's hand. All the grasses from Rui Jin were 100,000 years old or even older. She knew very well just how valuable and precious dragon saliva was. Right now, Jian Chen was giving her 4 of them in one go. This filled her with disbelief, forming waves in her heart. After a while of hesitation, the heavenly enchantress did not decline it. She extended her hand to take the grasses from Jian Chen's hand and thanked him softly. She was unable to resist the enticement of the grasses. Each of the 4 dragon saliva contained vast amounts of the 3 vital energies. It was too helpful for her to turn down. The heavenly enchantress carefully placed the grasses into a jade box, before depositing it into her space ring. After some hesitation, she secretly sent Jian Chen a message. The dragon's saliva is extremely valuable. It's a holy resource that virtually only exists in legends. If it's possible, you might as well ask for some more. The heavenly enchantress's voice was extremely soft and carried a beautiful, nature-like tone. Unconsciously, her voice carried an odd charm. It made Jian Chen's heart feel numb when he heard it. Jian Chen looked at the heavenly enchantress with an odd light. Even her voice was so charming, he struggled to imagine just how beautiful she was underneath the veil. Feeling Jian Chen's odd look, the heavenly enchantress also seemed to realize something. She hurriedly avoided his attention and quickly becoming as composed as before. Her bewitching gaze soon became cold. Jian Chen hesitated slightly, before finally following through with the heavenly enchantress's suggestion. He said to the sky, "Senior, is it possible for you to give me some more dragon saliva? It's of great use to me." Jian Chen did not get a reply. After a while, another 6 grasses appeared in the artifact space, surrounded by white light. Each grass was extremely aged. "Is that enough?" Through the assistance of the artifact spirit, Rui Jin's voice was clearly broadcasted into the artifact space. Jian Chen looked toward the heavenly enchantress in question. Noticing Jian Chen's look, she gently stamped her feet. Internally, she called him an idiot. She gritted her teeth before sending a message once again. The more the better. Jian Chen spoke out immediately, it's not enough. The more the better. What? The more the better. You really have insatiable greed. Rui Jin's angry voice sounded from outside. Hearing Jian Chen's reply, the heavenly enchantress swore secretly once again. She did not think that Jian Chen would be so direct. He Yu's deep gaze swept past Jian Chen and the heavenly enchantress. He chuckled. Rui Jin's right. You really do have insatiable greed. Each grass approaches 1,000,000 years in maturity. Rui Jin's gifted you a dozen of them and you still don't feel like it's enough. You really don't know how to appreciate things. It's pity that I'm now of the 9th heavenly layer, so these grasses are useless to me. Otherwise, I really would ask for a grass or two from Rui Jin. Jian Chen laughed awkwardly. He did not say anything in reply. A while later, Rui Jin's voice finally came again from outside. Whatever. The island's already become like this. Leaving behind these dragons' saliva is useless. I'll pick some of it for you because of Sir Artifact Spirit and the Winged Tiger God. Soon afterward, another white light flashed in the artifact space. A pile of several dozen grasses appeared before Jian Chen, each approaching 1,000,000 years in maturity. Thank you, Senior. Jian Chen expressed his gratitude before immediately sucking the pile of dragon saliva into his space ring. Afterward, he magnanimously gifted the 12 grasses he had obtained earlier to the heavenly enchantress, which caused her hands to tremble slightly. The next few days were extremely peaceful. Rui Jin waited for the dragon souls on the island to calm down, before finding a remote place to release the people within the artifact. Something's happened to the island. I want to remain here to search for the reason. Are you staying or leaving? Rui Jin said to them. Rui Jin, hey you, am a friend of yours. My strength has now skyrocketed. At the very least, it's enough to not hold you back. I'll stay here with you to find the reason for the changes, Hey Yu said without any hesitation. There's still something else I need to find in the Fantasy Star Ocean. I will be staying behind. Before I find it, I don't want to leave, Jian Chen said. After some hesitation, the heavenly enchantress said, the change to the Dragon's Island has always been a great mystery. Experts from the 10 protector clans had come in many times in the past to attempt to find the reason for the change, but they all returned in despair. Since you want to search for the reason, I will accompany you. Although I'm not as powerful as the 2 seniors, I am well versed in the path of the Zither. It has some unique aspects, which may be of help to the 2 seniors at crucial times. Chapter 840, Lunastron Pit. Since you all want to do it yourselves, I won't say any more. We may face many unexpected dangers in the future journey, so please be careful, Rui Jin said. Senior, don't worry. If we really do face dangers that we can't handle, we'll enter the artifact space immediately, Jian Chen said. He had a clear understanding of the power of the Saint Artifact now. Unless they encountered Saint Emperors, nothing was able to damage the Saint Artifact. He did not believe that there would be more Saint Emperors other than the Class 9 Dragon Souls. Jian Chen would not be terrified even if they really did encounter Saint Emperor living corpses. This was because the Dragon Souls were different from the living corpses. The souls maintained everything they had learned in their past lives, so their strength in battle was not any weaker than their peaks. Their innate talents or abilities were the reasons why they could damage the Saint Artifact. However, Saint Emperor corpses would not have this ability. They did not have any battle techniques at all and could only use the most basic attacks, which would not be enough to damage the Saint Artifact. Moreover, it was questionable if there were really any Saint Emperor living corpses. This was because only people that died after the transformation of the Fantasy Star Ocean would be reanimated as living corpses. The saint emperors from the 100 races that died before would not count. Several days later, Ruijin only left with them after waiting for the entire island to settle down. They continued into the depths of the fantasy star ocean as Ruijin hid their presences. Brother Jianchen, may I ask what you are still searching for? Hey Yu suddenly asked from beside Jianchen. Because of the saint artifact, Hey Yu's attitude towards Jianchen had changed rather significantly. Jianchen pulled out some stardust from his space ring. This is what Junior is searching for. This is extremely important to Junior. Before Junior finds it, Junior will not be leaving the fantasy star ocean. What's that? Hey Yu stared curiously at the stardust in Jianchen's hand. This is stardust, a material for forging weapons. Jianchen provided him with a rough explanation for the uses of stardust. He did not hide anything. He knew that in this world, probably no one other than him knew the true use of this material. Forging weapons? Hey Yu became even more doubtful. He asked out of confusion, weird, don't you humans use saint weapons? Why forge a brand new weapon? Jianchen's idea of forging weapons seemed to be extremely novel among the group. Ruijin and the heavenly enchantress both turned around to look at Jianchen, their eyes flowing with a weird light. Jianchen hesitated slightly before speaking. To be honest, Junior's saint weapon has already been shattered, no longer able to refine another saint weapon. As a result, Junior can only search for materials to forge something suitable. What? Your saint weapon's already destroyed? The heavenly enchantress could not help but cry out while disbelief flooded her eyes. Along the way, she had clearly observed the strength displayed by Jianchen. She could not imagine that Jianchen, who had fought over 100 living corpses with a ruler armament and slaughtered a Class 7 dragon soul with lightning speed, was actually a fighter with a destroyed saint weapon. It was unbelievable. Ruijin and Hey Yu also stared at Jianchen in amazement, their eyes filled with astonishment. Although they had grown up in the saint artifact, they knew a few things regarding the outside world. The heavenly enchantress calmed down very quickly. She swept past the stardust in Jianchen's hands and revealed a thoughtful expression. She said, I might know some information regarding the stardust. Jianchen rejoiced. He said, Senior, I hope you are able to tell me this information. You're also a saint ruler right now. You should call me the heavenly enchantress. That's how other people call me. I'm not used to being called senior, said the heavenly enchantress. Her voice was indifferent and cold. With that, Jianchen hesitated slightly before replying, all right. Please tell me about the stardust, heavenly enchantress. After pondering slightly, she said, if I recall correctly, this should only exist in the Lunastron pit. But it's extremely dangerous inside it. Many saint ruler living corpses stay there and there are even saint king corpses. There is only a slim chance of survival if you don't possess the strength of a saint king. Whereabout is this Lunastron pit? Jianchen asked. The pit is not in the depths of the fantasy star ocean but under an extremely hidden cliff in the middle region. It tunnels straight into the ground and is extremely deep, explained the heavenly enchantress. Jianchen turned to Ruijin and Hey Yu. Seniors, I hope you can help out Junior and come to the Lunastron pit with me to obtain some stardust. Whatever, it's not like we have anything better to do right now. Ruijin, why don't we pay a visit to this pit? Hey Yu spoke first, assisting Jianchen. Ruijin was a golden divine dragon. He was extremely honorable and did not originally want to do things for an unfamiliar junior. However, as soon as he heard Hey Yu's words, he could only accept it. Alright, I'll go to the Lunastron pit with you. Jianchen's group of 4 immediately flew to the middle region of the fantasy star ocean. They quickly returned to the region where they had collected heavenly resources with the white tiger. Finally, they found the entrance of the pit under a cliff according to the geography described by the heavenly enchantress. The entrance to the pit was a huge hole 100 meters wide. The hole directly sunk into the earth and was pitch black. If it was just Jian Chen and the Heavenly Enchantress, it would definitely take them quite some effort and energy to deal with them. But right now, there were two Supreme Ninth Heavenly Layer Saint Kings leading the way. No matter how many Saint Ruler corpses there were, it was not enough to stop their advance. Most of the time, Heiyu only needed a single palm strike and his vast energy would be enough to disintegrate a dozen or so Saint Ruler corpses. With their constant descent, Jian Chen slowly sensed that the whole seemed to be permeated with an odd energy. The temperature here would constantly change, sometimes bone-chillingly cold and other times scorching hot. It was as if they constantly traveled between two regions of opposite climates. This place really is rather weird. Heiyu, who lead the way, spoke out from below them. He also felt that the Lunastron pit was odd. Rui Jin constantly gazed around and said with a gruff voice, "This hole doesn't seem to be naturally formed. I'm positive that this hole did not exist on the island before. It must have appeared after the island changed. Moreover, this hole plunges in a straight path from the surface right into the earth. It's as if a massive object fell from the sky and carved this out. That's reasonable. This tunnel is just too straight. There are no bends at all, and images of the starry sky actually appear here. If you connect these facts, it's as if something from outer space had really collided with the island before creating such a deep crater." Heiyu agreed. They continued their way down. When they reached 30,000 meters, they finally hit solid ground. They had arrived at the bottom of the hole. The pit still permeated with colorful nebulae. Starlight glimmered faintly, as if they were each stars that floated in space. They were innumerable, filling up the entire place. Jian Chen glanced around and discovered that the bottom was extremely large. It stretched as far as the eye could see and he could feel that the weird energy was even thicker here. The surrounding temperature constantly alternated between a frigid coldness and a scorching heat. It's not fire-attributed energy, nor water-attributed energy, nor ice-attributed energy. Just what is this weird energy? Rui Jin mumbled to himself as he stared at the surroundings. Even his inherited memories contained no information on the weird energy here. At this very moment, a strand of scorching energy fused with a strand of the frigid energy mid-air. It immediately formed a presence that was extremely unfamiliar yet still rather familiar to all of them. Rui Jin's eyes lit up with a light of shock. This energy is actually the exact same energy as the unknown energy on the island. Is the transformation of my island due to the existence of this hole? Chapter 841, Stardust. Jian Chen, the Heavenly Enchantress and Heiyu were astonished by Rui Jin's words and immediately focused on it with their senses. They discovered that the energy created when the extremely hot and extremely cold energies fused was indeed extremely similar to the energy in the island's sky. They seemed to be the same. So the weird energy on the island is formed like this, and these two extremely hot and extremely cold energies only exist in the Lunastron pit. Moreover, the appearance of the pit is an oddity, as if it was created from the crater of a meteor. Do the changes of the island really originate from here? Heiyu deduced. The two energies can't have appeared out of nowhere. There must be an origin for them, Rui Jin said gruffly, before beginning to search the surroundings. Jian Chen, the Heavenly Enchantress and Heiyu also began to search the bottom of the pit, hoping to find the source of the two energies. This presence really is so familiar, yet it's not at the same time. Qing Sua's chime-like voice suddenly rang out in Jian Chen's head. Qing Sua, do you recognize this energy? Jian Chen communicated with Qing Sua with his thoughts. Master, we are indeed slightly familiar with the energy here, but it's not this type of energy, Ziying Hu replied. A thoughtful look appeared in Jian Chen's eyes. He did not say anything and continued to search his surroundings instead. After he traveled 100 meters, some dust that glimmered slightly on the ground caught Jian Chen's attention. Jian Chen squatted down and gently grabbed a handful of the glimmering dust and closely examined it afterward. A smile appeared on his face. Stardust, this is stardust. I've finally found it. I never thought that stardust really would originate from the Lunastron pit. Casting his gaze out, he saw the glimmering stardust scattered on the ground like a thin layer of sand. It covered the entire region, stretching as far as his eyes could see. Jian Chen did not hesitate at all after finding the stardust. He immediately pulled out a bag from his space ring and began to collect the stardust handful after handful. In other worlds, stardust was known as an energy-gathering dust. Other than forging the azulate swords, it could also gather the energy of the world. It was extremely helpful to fighters. If someone had enough stardust to place into a sect, the sect's energy of the world would immediately skyrocket, increasing the cultivation rate of everyone there. It would forge a solid foundation for a large organization in the future. This stardust is very useful to the Changyang clan. Now that I've come here after so much trouble, I need to collect more of it. Jian Chen thought. Master, the stardust on the ground is all junk quality. Don't collect that. Collect the stardust floating in the air. Suddenly, Zi Ying's voice appeared in Jian Chen's head. What? Junk? Jian Chen was shocked. He glanced at his half-full bag of stardust and then looked toward the glimmering lights that floated in mid-air like stars. He saw that every glimmer of light was the size of a rice grain, much larger than the sand-like stardust on the ground. Additionally, they glowed with a much brighter light. They were extremely beautiful. Jian Chen asked out of curiosity, Zi Ying, are those also stardust? Yes, master. Those are also stardust floating in the sky and are all of higher quality. They are much better than the junk-like stardust on the ground. Zi Ying's confident voice sounded in Jian Chen's head. Glancing at the bag of stardust again, Jian Chen hesitated slightly. He did not throw it away and instead tied up the bag and placed it into his space ring. Afterward, he pulled out another bag, beginning to collect the stardust floating in the sky. As the stardust in the air was extremely well dispersed, Jian Chen's collection was extremely slow. He needed to grab them grain by grain with his hands. All of you come over right now. At that very moment, the heavenly enchantress's voice came from the distance. Hearing it, Jian Chen immediately stopped his collection, running in the heavenly enchantress's direction with quick strides. When he got there, he realized that Rui Jin and He Yu were one step faster and had already arrived. Right before the three of them lay a human corpse. They did not know how long it had been dead for, but its appearance had not changed at all. Jian Chen examined the corpse curiously. He could feel the weird energy in the surroundings constantly entering the corpse and slowly fusing into its bones. This weird energy just happened to be produced when the extremely hot and extremely cold energies fused. It's a saint ruler. Looking at it, he's already been dead for thousands of years, but there's no sign of decomposition at all, Rui Jin said with a deep voice. He Yu stared at the corpse with interest. I can feel that there are some changes currently occurring in its body. It's currently transforming into something like the living corpses. Look, it's the weird energy here that made those who had passed away gain an unkillable body, and with a weird method, it reanimates them. At this very moment, the corpse on the ground snapped open its eyes without any prior signs. Its eyes were dull without any signs of life. It immediately produced a great roar, echoing through the entire pit. Afterward, it immediately stood up from the ground and hurled a fist to Rui Jin, who was the closest. Rui Jin's lips curled into a sneer of disdain. His palm struck the corpse's chest with lightning speed, and the powerful energy directly shook the corpse to dust and scattered it in the air. However, the scattered dust immediately began to reform mid-air after a short while. It actually condensed into its previous form, throwing a strike at Rui Jin. Rui Jin remained expressionless. He struck out with his palm once again, turning the corpse into dust. This happened 6 times in total before the corpse finally consumed all its energy and was unable to reform itself. It turned into a pile of white dust on the ground. Looks like the transformation of the island really does originate from here, Rui Jin said gruffly. His face was overcast. He had basically confirmed that the Lunastron pit was the culprit of the changes to the island. But, just where have my clansmen gone? Rui Jin's face was filled with loneliness. In this world, as of today, perhaps he was the only dragon left in existence. Roar! At this very moment, a great beast roar boomed in the distance. Combined with the sound of many footsteps, countless living corpses rushed over from all directions. In the vast combined presence, there were even a dozen or so supreme saint kings. The heavenly enchantress and Jian Chen became rather stern. However, Rui Jin and He Yu remained as usual, they were calm and unperturbed. Soon afterward, a dense crowd of corpses appeared before them. The Lunastron pit was where the living corpses were formed, so there were even more of them here than on the island. They were all drawn here by the roars of the first corpse. I never thought there would actually be so many here. It looks like there's at least a few thousand. Trying to kill these unkillable monsters will be quite tiring. Rui Jin, you handle it. He Yu turned to Rui Jin. Rui Jin swept his gaze across the surroundings. Beating them to the point where their bodies can no longer reform will indeed be quite tiring. Whatever, leave it to me. As he spoke, Rui Jin's hand varied from seal to seal in front of him, before bellowing, secret technique of the dragon clan, seal. An invisible energy spread out in all directions in a circular fashion with Rui Jin as its center. It spread out for several kilometers before gradually disappearing. As it expanded, all the corpses that rushed over from the surroundings came to a screeching halt, immobilized and frozen in their running postures. Even the Saint King corpses were no exceptions. In the blink of an eye, the surroundings became extremely quiet. It was so quiet that even if a needle was dropped, it could be heard clearly. Jian Chen's heart was filled with shock when he saw this. He had observed Rui Jin's terrifying strength once again. The power of the seal cannot last for too long, 2 hours at most. We should quickly find the source of the weird energy, Rui Jin said. The four of them did not scatter, traveling into the distance together in search of the weird energy's source. Jian Chen had a bag hanging by his waist, collecting the floating stardust as he followed the three others. His hands moved about in a flurry, they had almost become blurs. He was currently collecting the nearby stardust at an extremely terrifying speed. The heavenly enchantress noticed Jian Chen's collection of stardust. She immediately remembered that Jian Chen had given her 12 precious dragon saliva in the saint artifact, and after some hesitation, she said, "Let me help you out." With that, the zither of the demonic cry disappeared from her hands and she began to grab at the stardust in the air with her hands. "Thank you, heavenly enchantress." Jian Chen smiled gratefully at her. The heavenly enchantress said nothing in reply. Her hands danced about quickly and flexibly, grabbing the stardust around her before throwing it into the bag on Jian Chen's waist. In front, He Yu turned around and saw their actions. He chuckled. "I wonder when you will finally grab all the glimmers of light if you keep going at them like this." "Whatever, let me help you out." With that, He Yu immediately gaped open his mouth and bellowed, "Cosmic vacuum, suck." A great suction force appeared from He Yu's mouth. Immediately, wild gusts of wind appeared in the pit and all the stardust floating in the air was drawn right in front of He Yu. In just a few seconds, a large pile of stardust had already appeared in front of him. The quantity was immeasurable. Each grain of stardust was closely stuck to the others, without any air in between. It had essentially formed a meter-wide ball. Seeing this, Jian Chen became tongue-tied. With just his cosmic vacuum, He Yu had sucked up all the stardust in a radius of several kilometers. If he were to collect all of it by hand, it would have taken him at least a day. "Thank your senior." Returning to his senses, Jian Chen hurriedly expressed his gratitude by clasping his fist. He Yu smiled uncaringly. "This is all just a small matter. It's as simple as lifting a finger. Of course, if you really do want to show your gratitude, you should let me use the artifact spirit when I search for it to heal my wounds in the future, should I be heavily injured." "Of course." You don't need to worry about that. If there's any place that Junior can help out through the artifact spirit, Junior will definitely do so, Jian Chen said. He too understood that He Yu would not just provide assistance for nothing. Afterward, Jian Chen stored all the stardust sucked over by He Yu into bags excitedly. Only after filling up 3 large bags did he finally store away all the stardust. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.